Chapter 2766. Hearing this, he couldn't help but feel his heart ache. He asked, "Did those people chase after you along the way? How was your journey to Penglai, Immortal Island? Why didn't you send any news back?" "I did. They chased me all the way to Penglai, Immortal Island. Those people aren't easy to deal with, but it won't be that easy for them to deal with me. I just didn't want you to worry, so I didn't send any news." "Your strength has increased." Xinyuan Mose looked at her and asked. He felt that her aura was very different. She must have entered the heavenly god realm. She smiled and nodded. "Yes, I think I'm already a heavenly god realm cultivator. Whether it's my strength or my state of mind, both have increased. Moreover, I unexpectedly obtained the Golden Lotus. Could it be that Tianji Elder wanted me to go to Penglai, Immortal Island, for the Golden Lotus? Did you go up the Immortal Ascension stairs?" "I went up, but I didn't go over. I heard that it's a door to another world. After I went up, I came back down. That's why I obtained the Golden Lotus there, and my strength increased. After shaking off those people who were following me, I secretly came back." As she spoke, she smiled. "Speaking of which, I still need to ask Mo-chan about the Golden Lotus." As she spoke, she took out a lotus seed from her space. "I broke through after eating this lotus seed. This lotus seed is very effective. Try one and see. I just entered the heavenly god realm overseas not long ago. It's not suitable for me to break through now." Xinyuan Mo said and pushed it back. "Keep it." Seeing this, Fengjiu used a small bottle to keep the lotus seed and passed it to him. "Keep it then. You can use it in the future." Hearing this, Xinyuan Mose kept the lotus seed. He looked at the noodles in front of him and said, "Eat it. Don't let it get cold." As he spoke, he picked up the eggs and meat on the bowl and gave them to Fengjiu. "Eat more." Fengjiu looked at the bowl full of meat and couldn't help but be stunned. He said, "I also have some." "Eat more, you've lost weight," Xinyuan Mo said as he gave Fengjiu all the meat in his bowl. "Then this egg is for you." She gave him the egg and said, "All right, don't take any more. Hurry up and eat. I still have something to tell you later." Hearing this, Xinyuan Mose also started eating. It was an ordinary bowl of noodles, but he felt that it was the most delicious thing he had eaten in a while. This was not only because this bowl of noodles was made by her, but also because she was by his side. After the couple finished eating, they pushed their bowls to the side. Xinyuan Mose looked at her and asked, "What do you want to say?" "Actually, it's like this. I have an idea that I want to tell you." As she spoke, she looked at him and said, "Those people want the green lotus in my body, but they've always been in the dark. Meanwhile, we're in the open. Even now, we still don't know who the mastermind is. So I want to find an opportunity to blend in with them. This way, it'll be easier to investigate and eliminate." Before she could finish, he interrupted her. "No." Xinyuan Mose frowned and looked at her. "This is too dangerous." "I don't agree." Seeing this, Fengjiu said, "But if we don't do this, it'll be more dangerous if we leave them alone." Chapter 2767. Hearing this, Fengjiu said helplessly, "Even so, if we don't find out who is behind this, we won't be at ease. Then you plan to stay here quietly? Don't talk about me. What's the matter with your junior sister? How long is she going to stay here?" Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and asked, her eyes falling on him. "She didn't say, and I didn't ask," Xinyuan Mo said. She crossed her arms and took a step back, saying, "Where did your junior sister come from? Where's her family? Is she engaged? What's she doing here? Don't you think you should explain to me?" "Her family is overseas. When I went overseas with my master, I visited her family. As for whether she is engaged or not, I don't know. She just said that she wanted to come here to see, and then asked me to take care of her. That's why she is staying here." Seeing her jealous look, Xinyuan Mose's eyes flashed with a smile. "Don't worry. She is a person who knows her limits." "Is that so?" Fengjiu looked at him meaningfully. Originally, she didn't want to let Yin Shueshi know about her return. But now, as the master of the house, if she kept hiding, wouldn't she seem worse than a guest? She wanted to see if Yin Shueshi was really a person who knew her limits, as Mose said. Hearing her words and seeing her expression, Xinyuan Mose couldn't help but say, "She is my junior sister and also a guest. Don't mess around with her." Hearing this, Feng glanced at him and said in a sour tone, "You're worried? I didn't know you knew how to protect flowers." Xinyuan Mo smiled helplessly. "Don't think too much. I promise to take care of her." Of course, he knew that if she targeted someone, no one would have a good life. But Yun Shuexin was not just anyone, and he couldn't let her do whatever she wanted. Feng smiled and stood up. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Ing Yi's voice from the courtyard outside. "Master." In the room, Xinyuan Mo's glanced outside and said, "Come in." Ing Yi pushed the door open and came in with something in his hand. When he saw Feng also looking at him, he hesitated for a moment before stepping forward and putting down the thing. Mission sent someone to send pastries over. Xinyuan Mo's looked at the small plate of pastries on the table and said to Feng, "These are pastries from your favorite pastry shop. Have a taste." He reached out and pushed the plate in front of Feng. Feng patted her dress and said, "I just ate noodles, so I can't eat the snacks. Why don't you eat them yourself? I still have something to do, so I'll take my leave first." Just as she was about to turn around and leave, Xinyuan Mo's grabbed her hand. He frowned and looked at her. "It's so late and you just came back. Where are you going? Is there something you can't deal with tomorrow? It's too ostentatious tomorrow. It's easier to deal with things when the night is dark and the wind is strong." She turned around and shook off his hand. "You rest first. Don't wait for me." With that, she walked out. Watching her figure leave the room and disappear from sight, Xinyuan Mo's brows didn't loosen. His face was slightly gloomy, and he seemed to be somewhat unhappy. The atmosphere in the room became somewhat oppressive. Ing Yi, who was standing by the door, didn't dare to breathe. Just as he was about to leave, he heard his master's cold voice. Chapter 2768. Ing Yi lowered his head slightly and went forward. He took the pastries and the 2 bowls on the table and quietly left the room. After he closed the door for his master, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that he didn't send the pastries at the right time. No, it should be that Yin Shuexin sent the pastries at the wrong time. However, why did it seem like these 2 ancestors were quarreling? The atmosphere inside was so tense that he didn't even dare to breathe loudly. At this time, he couldn't help but be curious. Where did Hui Lang go with the ghost doctor's people? If he was here, the person who sent the pastries and walked in front of his master and the ghost doctor wouldn't be him. In the guest room of the west courtyard, Yun Shuexin, who was dressed in white, sat at the table and fiddled with the wick of the lamp. She watched the sparks fly and watched the lights light up, making the room clearer. She couldn't help but smile. Her expression was indescribable, and no one knew what she was thinking. On the other side, Feng went to Nailan Ruochen's house after leaving the Feng Manor. She climbed over the wall and avoided the people in the manor and came to his courtyard. After passing through the array, he sat outside, and entering the courtyard, she didn't see anyone. But seeing the light in the room, she asked, "Are you asleep?" Nailan Mo-chun was surprised when he heard Feng voice. He put down the book in his hand and walked out. When he saw her in red, sitting at the table in the courtyard drinking wine, he walked over. "When did you come back?" "Today." She took out another cup and poured him a cup. "Why did you come here to drink?" He looked at her and asked, "Are you in a bad mood?" Feng glanced at him. "Who said I'm in a bad mood? Can't I come and drink with you?" She picked up the cup and drank it. She drank the wine in the cup in one gulp and poured it again. "I want to ask, why did your master ask me to go to the immortal ladder?" She drank the wine and said, "I stayed there for a few months, but it didn't seem to be anything special. You've entered the heavenly god realm." Nailan Mo-chun looked at her and said gently, "How can you say that it's nothing special? From what I can see, the aura on your body is very different from before. It is likely that not only has your strength increased, but your mental state has also improved." "You're right. I don't know about other things, but my strength did increase. Now, I'm already a heavenly god. I thought I'd be stuck at the immortal emperor realm for a long time, but I didn't expect that after eating a lotus seed, my strength would increase explosively. In the end, I even broke through and became a heavenly god." She swirled the wine in her cup and said, "Speaking of which, other than luring away those people who want the ancient green lotus in my body, my strength has also increased. Moreover, I have also obtained a pool of golden lotus there. I have even climbed up that mysterious stairway of immortality. Her voice carried a bit of carelessness, without any fluctuations, as if she was talking about someone else's matter. He raised his head and drank the wine before continuing to pour. It's just that the higher your cultivation, the more boring it is to stand at the top. Did you know? On the stairway of immortality, I saw many cultivators try to climb it. They tried to reach the top of the stairway of immortality, but in the end, they either came down on their own accord or were pushed down by the pressure from above. The lighter ones were severely injured, and the heavier ones were crippled. Chapter 2769. As he listened to her talk and watched her drink cup after cup of wine, his heart skipped a beat. He lowered his voice and asked, "Then why didn't you enter when you were at the door? I heard Master say that place is another world. In that world, there are cultivators who are at least at the divine realm." "That's right. That open door leads to that new world. There are indeed stronger cultivators there. Perhaps it's more suitable for cultivators to live there." She spoke unhurriedly and poured herself another cup of wine. After finishing the wine in the cup, she slammed the cup on the table and looked at Imo-chan. "But so what? My family and friends, the people I love, and the people I care about are all here. Tell me, what's the point of going there alone? Do you really want me to break all 6 of my spiritual roots and be all alone?" Hearing this, Imo-chan's eyes flashed. He lowered his gaze and took a sip of wine from the cup in front of him. He didn't say anything and just listened quietly to Fengjio until she suddenly stopped talking and looked at him. "Why aren't you saying anything?" Imo-chan was stunned and smiled gently. "I'm listening. Are you done? Do you feel better now that you've said it?" Fengjio glanced at him and didn't say anything. "Is it because of the woman with the surname Yin living in your residence? Is that why you're in a bad mood?" Imo-chan asked with a smile. He looked at her and said, "This isn't like you. It's also not like you. I'm not in a bad mood because of that woman," Fengjio said. When she was about to pour more wine, Imo-chan stopped her. "That's enough. Don't drink anymore. It's not good for your health." He looked at her and asked, "If it's not because of that woman, then did Imo-ze annoy you? What did he do to annoy you?" Fengjio was silent for a while and said, "He didn't really annoy me. It's just that I'm not in a good mood." She secretly came back because she missed him. She wanted to see the person in her heart. However, she didn't think that when she saw him, he would be with a woman. Although that woman was his junior sister, he had never been so close to any other woman before. Another reason was that even though the two of them had clearly met, he couldn't recognize her. After returning to the estate, he spoke a lot to protect that woman, as if he was afraid that she would do something to that woman. This caused her originally joyous mood to become inexplicably downcast. She was a little unhappy, but the two of them didn't even quarrel. This kind of sulking was also hard to say. Imo-chan smiled and looked at her and said in a warm voice, "I've been to the Feng residence a few times recently. I've also seen that woman with the surname Yin twice. Aside from her outstanding appearance and bearing, she's not a stupid person. Otherwise, Imo-ze wouldn't have let her stay in the Feng residence. I feel that it's impossible for her to not be interested in Imo-ze. She just hit it very well." Imo-ze didn't notice. Perhaps he treated her differently from others from the beginning. However, you don't need to worry. As I see it, Imo-ze only has you in his heart. Even if he treats that woman with the surname Yin differently, it should only be because she's his junior sister. Fengjio glared and unhappily said, "Is there anyone who comforts someone like you?" Chapter 2770. I haven't even exchanged blows with her yet. How can I let her leave my residence just like that? Fengjio snorted softly. "She didn't come back today. We only met briefly, but I heard that she's very comfortable in my residence." She toyed with the wine cup in her hand and said, "I came back secretly because I didn't want to alert those people who have their eyes on the green lotus. But it seems like they'll come knocking on my door soon. With your strength as an enlightened god, you don't have to be afraid of them. Naturally, you don't have to come back secretly." He paused and looked at her. "You're worried about implicating the people around you, aren't you?" Fengjio didn't say anything. It was a silent agreement. Actually, The people around you are also very strong. You don't have to worry too much. He paused and looked at her, then said, You just came back today, so you probably didn't have a good rest. Don't drink anymore. Go back quickly. Feng Jiu glared at him. You want to chase me away? I didn't come here to drink alone. After saying that, she took out a lotus seed from a space and said, I found a golden lotus seed like this in the Penglai Immortal Island. I also ate this lotus seed to make a breakthrough. Do you think this is the ancient golden lotus? Anyway, she couldn't tell. However, when she ate the green lotus seed, it looked similar. That wasn't it. It seemed to be different from ordinary lotus seeds. Imochen glanced at it and shook his head. This isn't the ancient golden lotus. However, there's a trace of its aura on this lotus seed. I think it's related. The aura of the ancient golden lotus? She looked at Imo-chan in surprise. Why can't I feel it? Hearing this, Imo-chan smiled slightly. He didn't elaborate and only said gently, You should go back. Imo-ze is probably still waiting for you. Feng Jiu stood up and looked around the courtyard, saying, Don't you have a room here? I'll sleep here tonight and won't go back. As she spoke, she walked toward the side room in the basement. After entering, she slammed the door shut. Imo-chan was slightly taken aback. He stared at the closed door for a long while before regaining his senses. He shook his head and smiled helplessly. Looking at the lotus seed in his hand, he called out, You haven't taken your lotus seed yet. That's for you. Feng Jiu's voice came from the room. Hearing this, Imo-chan paused, looked at the lotus seed in his hand, and then said, Thank you, but I don't have a gift in return. Hearing no sound from the room, he stood up with a smile, took the lotus seed, and walked towards his room. After closing the door, he looked at the lotus seed in his hand. No one knew what he was thinking. In the end, he took out an exquisite brocade pouch and put the lotus seed in it, then tied it to his waist. In the Feng manner, Xin Yuan Mose waited for a whole night without sleeping, but Feng Jiu didn't return. He walked outside and walked toward the main door with his hands behind his back. However, when he passed by the pavilion near the fake mountain, he saw Yun Shueshin sitting there eating breakfast. Senior brother, why are you up so early today? Yun Shueshin looked surprised to see him. I'm preparing to go out for a walk. Xin Yuan Mo said and walked outside. Senior brother, wait. Yun Shueshin called out. She picked up the fruit on the table and quickly walked forward to give it to him. It's so early. Senior brother must not have eaten yet, right? I only have a bowl of porridge, so I won't give it to senior brother. Senior brother, have some fruit. Chapter 2771. Yun Shueshin followed his gaze and saw a red figure walking towards them. She turned around to look carefully and saw that it was a woman wearing a dazzling red dress. The red dress was dazzling and flamboyant, and the belt wrapped around her slender waist. There was a 7-colored glass feather hanging from her waist. As she walked, the 7-colored glass feather swayed gently, looking very beautiful. When she looked up, her gaze landed on the woman's face. When she saw her face, even though she was already extremely beautiful, she couldn't help but feel her heart skip a beat. This woman in red could really be called a stunner. Her black hair was simply coiled up with a jasper hairpin, and the rest naturally fell behind her back, reaching her waist. She had never seen anyone with such a temperament in a red dress. When ordinary people wore red, they would more or less have a trace of gaudy color. However, this woman wore red with a different and refined temperament. Originally, he thought that she would give people a feeling of beauty. However, because of the pair of clear and bottomless eyes under this red-clothed woman's willowy eyebrows, her entire temperament was far from being beautiful. Instead, a kind of cold and elegant aura appeared. Her exquisite and beautiful facial features, set off by her red clothes, gave off a cold yet not glamorous, bewitching yet extraordinary feeling. Her eyes were deep and bottomless, but the corners of her lips carried a lazy smile that was neither a smile nor a smile. As she slowly walked over, her footsteps were light and casual. However, it gave off a noble and otherworldly aura, as well as an intimidating aura of a superior. This must be the ghost, Dr. Feng Jiu. Indeed, Seeing once was better than hearing 100 times. This must be Miss Yun. Feng Jiu walked over, and his gaze fell on Yun Shuexin as he sized her up. He smiled and said, I heard that a beautiful guest has come to the residence. Seeing you today, you are indeed extraordinary. Yun Shuexin smiled gently and looked at Feng Jiu, saying, no matter how dazzling Shuexin is, it can't even compare to half an inch of the ghost doctor. As she spoke, she slightly bent her knees and bowed. Please take care of me in the future, ghost doctor. Miss Yun's words are too serious, Feng Jiu said, looking at her, and said, those who come are guests. As the host, I naturally have to treat them with respect. I heard senior brother say that the ghost doctor went on a long trip, so you must have just returned. You must have a lot to say to senior brother, so I won't disturb the two of you. She smiled and left first. After she left, Feng Jiu walked inside, but after a few steps, his hand was grabbed by Mo's. Are you still angry? Feng Jiu looked back at him and asked, did you offend me? Why would I be angry? Then I'll accompany you for breakfast. Mo said, I ate when I came back. Feng Jiu said, breaking free from his hand and walking inside. Xin Yuan Mo's saw this and followed, but who knew that when Feng Jiu returned to the courtyard, he would close the door. Even if he wanted to go in, he couldn't. Seeing this, he sat at the table in the courtyard and looked at the closed door. He couldn't help but feel that a woman's heart was really like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Sometimes, just because of a word, she could sulk. He didn't say anything to her, but just told her not to touch Yun Shuexin, and she could sulk and ignore him. Suddenly, he felt that something was missing beside him. He called, Master. He walked out from the shadows. Chapter 2772. Xin Yuan Mo's asked, as if he hadn't seen Hui Lang since last night. Last night, Feng Jiu had returned, and she had left in a fit of anger, so he didn't pay attention to whether Hui Lang was here or not. Now that he sat down, he realized that Hui Lang, who had often appeared in front of him and talked nonstop, seemed to have disappeared. Hearing this, he paused for a moment, then said, last night, when the ghost doctor came, she had the shadow guards knock him out and carry him out. She said that he would be thrown into the city to be a beggar for a few days. Hearing this, Xin Yuan Mo's was slightly startled. After thinking carefully, he remembered that when they met Feng Jiu yesterday, Hui Lang seemed to be very talkative. Thus, he nodded. Understood, you can leave. Yes. He responded and then retreated. In the city, Hui Lang, who had been beaten black and blue, had his spiritual energy sealed. His clothes were tattered, and he sat in the corner of the street with a long face. He didn't know what had happened. After being knocked unconscious, he woke up as a beggar here, and his spiritual aura was sealed. He originally wanted to run back, but who knew that there was someone watching him in the dark, saying something about letting him be a beggar here for a few days to satisfy his cravings. What was so satisfying about being a beggar? He didn't want to be a beggar, being dirty all day and being looked at with disdain. However, everything he had on him had been confiscated. He had no money, and there was nothing to eat. It had only been half a day, but his stomach was already growling. Look at this beggar, a tall and strong beggar who has good hands and legs is a beggar here. How shameless. A woman passing by looked at Hui Lang with disdain and scolded him. Another woman who was walking with the woman said, nowadays, there are many people who have good hands and legs but don't work. They can only be beggars. This kind of person shouldn't be given alms. That's right. As Hui Lang listened, he lowered his head and covered his face with his hands, as if he was afraid of being recognized by someone familiar. After the two women walked away, he muttered to himself, it's not like I want to be a beggar. I have no choice. The shadow guards hiding in the shadows couldn't help but grin silently. When they heard that their master was going to make Hui Lang a beggar for a few days, they were very excited. Some of them even took the opportunity to beat Hui Lang up. Now that they saw him squatting here in his tattered beggar clothes, they were very curious. How exactly did Hui Lang provoke their master? Sigh, I'm starving. His stomach growled. Hui Lang couldn't help but stand up and walk along the street with a broken bowl. He came to a stall selling steaming buns. Staring at the steaming buns, he licked his lips and swallowed. Just as he was about to speak, he saw the vendor run out with a broom. "Stinky beggar. Are you trying to interfere with my business? Hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I won't be polite to you." The vendor waved the broom in his hand and threatened. He stared fiercely at the stinky and dirty Huilang. Huilang's mouth was still open. He hadn't said anything yet. Being chased away, he couldn't help but be unwilling to give up. He swallowed his saliva and said, "Boss, I'm hungry. How about this? Give me a few meat buns first, and I'll give you the money in a few days. Double. How about double?" Chapter 2773. Ouch! Huilang's head was hit by the broom. He hugged his head and shouted, "Isn't it just a few steamed buns? I wouldn't eat them if it was any other day. You call yourself a master? Get out of my way." The peddler waved his broom and chased him away. Then he came back and scolded, A beggar pretending to be a master? If you're a master, then I'm your grandfather." Grey Wolf glared at him. You wait for me." It was true that when a tiger fell to the plains, he would be bullied by dogs. A hawker actually dared to bully him? Huilang took the broken bowl and left. However, no one gave him anything as he walked down the street. He didn't eat anything for the whole day. He was so hungry that he didn't have the strength to walk. If his spiritual power wasn't sealed, it would be fine. However, with his spiritual power sealed, the hunger in his body grew stronger. In the end, he could only return to the corner of the street and sit down. Looking at the people coming and going on the street, he sighed. It's not easy to be a beggar these days. In the evening, Feng Jiu came out of her room and saw Xianyuan Mose sitting in the courtyard. She looked at him and asked, "Do you want to go out for a walk?" Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose smiled. "All right." Feng Jiu walked out. Xianyuan Mose saw this and reached out to take her hand. When he saw her look at him, he smiled and said, "Let me hold your hand." He held her hand tightly and walked out. When Feng Jiu saw this, she only looked at their tightly clasped hands and didn't say anything as she let him hold her hand. But when they reached the front yard, she stopped and said, "Bring Hao with you. Take him out for a walk. Then let the Lung Shuang take him with us." As he spoke, he instructed, "Go and tell Lung Shuang to bring Hao out with us." "Yes." He answered, and then went to Lung Shuang's courtyard. The two of them waited in front of a pavilion. However, before Lung Shuang and Hao arrived, Yun Shuexin arrived. Senior brother, Ghost Doctor. Yun Shuexin, who was still dressed in white, slowly walked over. Looking at the two people in the pavilion, she asked with a smile, "I was just about to go out for a walk. Senior Martial Brother and Ghost Doctor, do you want to come along?" Xianyuan Mose glanced at Feng Jiu. Seeing that she had no intention of speaking, he said, "We also want to go out." "Really? Can I go with you? It's boring to go shopping alone." She said a little embarrassedly, "I don't have many friends here. Usually, if Senior Martial Brother doesn't accompany me, I'm always alone." Hearing this, Feng Jiu's lips curved slightly. He glanced at her and said, "Then Miss Yin should go out more often. There are so many outstanding people in Hundred River City, and Miss Yun is so outstanding. Maybe it won't be long before you make new friends." Xianyuan Mose, who was sitting next to them, silently looked away. As a man, it was better for him to stay out of Feng Jiu and Yun Shuexin's affairs. He didn't want to accidentally say the wrong thing and make her angry again. Yun Shuexin was slightly startled. She looked at Feng Jiu, then at Xianyuan Mose, who was silent. She lowered her eyes and said in a lonely voice, "That's true. Ghost Doctor is going out with Senior Martial Brother. It's not appropriate for me to follow." Chapter 2774. Her voice paused slightly, and her smile deepened. "I'm doing this for Miss Yun's sake. After all, our reputations in Hundred River City are well known. If you follow us, most people won't dare to walk over and greet you." Yun Shuexin raised her head to look at her in astonishment. Seeing her face full of smiles, as if she was really thinking for her, she couldn't say a single word of objection. Finally, she gathered her thoughts and looked deeply at Feng Jiu. Smiling gently, she said, "I'm really touched that the ghost doctor is so considerate of me. I've always treated Senior Brother as my family. In this unfamiliar place, Senior Brother has always accompanied me and taken care of me. If it weren't for the ghost doctor's words today, I think I would still rely on Senior Brother." As she spoke, she bent her knees and bowed to Fengjiu and Xinyuan Mo's. "Senior Brother, ghost doctor, don't worry. I'll definitely make new friends here. I won't let you worry about me." Hearing this, Xinyuan Mo's secretly nodded, thinking that there was nothing wrong with her words. However, when Fengjiu heard this, he raised his brows. He felt that she was telling him that Mose had been accompanying her and taking care of her all this time. "Senior Brother, ghost doctor, I'll go out first." Yun Shuixin revealed a gentle smile, then left in front of them. After she left, Fengjiu looked at Xinyuan Mose and asked, "What do you think of her words?" "There's nothing wrong with them," Xinyuan Mose said truthfully. "Nothing wrong with them?" Fengjiu raised his voice slightly and glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. "Is there a problem?" He was slightly surprised and asked in confusion. Hearing this, Fengjiu nodded and said, "That's true. There's nothing wrong with them. If a man could understand a woman's heart, then it would be strange." It wasn't strange that he couldn't tell. Anyway, there was still a long way to go. She wanted to see how long this Yun Shuixin would stay here. She didn't believe that Mose would always think that there was nothing wrong with her. "Master, Yama Lord." Long Shuang came from not far away, carrying the child to their side. "My son is here. Come, let mother hug him." Fengjiu's eyes narrowed as she smiled and reached out to hug the child. When Xinyuan Mo saw this, he couldn't help but ask, since he liked children so much, "When can we have one too? You haven't even gotten married yet. How can you have a child?" As Fengjiu spoke, he carried the child and walked out, saying, "Besides, my little Hao is quite cute. I can't even take care of one. Another one? How can I take care of her?" Xinyuan Mose followed behind and said, "If you can't take care of them, you can ask Leng Shuang and the others to help. You don't have to take care of them yourself. Besides, I could take care of the children too. I can take care of 2 of them." "You?" Fengjiu turned around and looked at him in astonishment. He couldn't help but laugh. "You can take care of 2 of them?" Xinyuan Mose nodded with a straight face. "Yes, I've been using this little guy for practice recently. I've been feeding him and coaxing him to sleep. I'm already very familiar with it." He was confident that if they had children, he could take care of 2 of them each. Fengjiu didn't give him any face and laughed out loud. As she laughed, she waved her hand. "Don't tease me. You think you could take care of children? And 2 of them each? I don't believe it." Chapter 2775. Leng Shuang followed behind the 2 of them and chatted with them as they walked. She couldn't help but smile in her eyes. In fact, she also hoped that her master and the Yama Lord would have a few children quickly after they got married. Then she could help to take care of the children. However, seeing her master like this, she didn't know when they would get married and when they would have 2 more little masters for her to take care of. When they came to the door, the carriage was ready. Xinyuan Mose and Fengjiu got into the carriage with the child. Leng Shuang and the coachman sat outside. "Master, where are we going?" the coachman asked. "Let's go to the byway building," Fengjiu said. She sat in the carriage and played with the child. She said, "In order not to let those people know that I came back, I specially learned the puppet skill and distributed several puppets to attract their attention. But it seems that my efforts were in vain." Hearing this, Mo said in a deep voice, "It doesn't matter. Even if there is danger, I will stand in front of you." Fengjiu glanced at him and handed the child in her arms to him. "You said that you have been taking care of him recently. Then you hold him." Who knew that when Mose reached out to take the child would start crying. His small hands were tightly clenched into fists as he waved them around. His cries were very loud. No matter how Mose coaxed him, he wouldn't stop, making him feel very awkward. "Is he hungry?" Mose looked at Fengjiu and asked. Fengjiu spread out her hands, indicating that she didn't know. Hearing the sound, Leng Shuang came in and said, "Yama Lord, the little master may have peed." It would have been better if she hadn't said anything, but as soon as she did, Xinyuan Mose felt a warm sensation on his palm. He hurriedly moved the child away to prevent him from being peed all over. He called out, "Lung Shuang, come in and help him change." Yes. Lung Shuang was answering when he heard Feng Jiu's words. "No need. Just pass me Hauer's clothes. I'll help him change." As Feng Jiu spoke, he took the child from Moses' arms and placed him on his lap. He untied the cloth wrapped around the child and took off his pants. She had asked Lung Shuang to make the child's pants, so it was easy for him to put them on and take them off. After taking off the child's wet pants and diapers, Feng Jiu took the clean pants that Lung Shuang handed her and was about to help him put them on. However, when she saw that the child's two short legs were slightly red because of his chubby body, she couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. "Why is it red? Is it because it's too hot and red?" She muttered and checked the reddened area on the little guy's thigh. She didn't notice that Xianyuan Mose was staring at the little guy who was blinking and biting his little fist. When he saw Feng Jiu touch the little guy's reddened thigh, he couldn't help but say, "Let me do it." "You want to help him apply some medicine, right? I'll do it." Feng Jiu looked up at him in surprise. "I'll do it. If you hold him, he'll cry again. Besides, it's just applying some medicine. I still have to help him put on his pants." Xianyuan Mose opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. He couldn't say that he couldn't bear to see her change the little brat's diaper, and that he couldn't bear to see the little teapot between the little brat's legs waving in front of her. Could he? Chapter 2776. She looked at the child who was laughing happily in her arms with a smile and said, "You are so cute and fat. You must be more adorable if you wear a belly band." "Well, I've decided. I'll find some good materials and ask Lung Shuang to make two for you." Xianyuan Mose looked at her holding the child and talking to herself. He could not help but twitch his mouth and said, "He is so young. He won't understand even if you tell him." Hearing this, Feng Jiu looked at him and said, "What do you mean he won't understand? If you yell at him, he will cry immediately. Do you believe it? Isn't that normal? Not to mention a child. Even an adult could not withstand his anger." After a while, the carriage stopped. The coachman said, "Master, Yama Lord, we've arrived at the byway building." "Well," Mose responded and got out of the carriage first. He stood aside to help Feng Jiu lift the curtain and asked, "Do you need me to hold the child?" "It's okay. I can hold him," Feng Jiu said, got out of the carriage and walked into the building with him. The carriage retreated to the side, and Lung Shuang followed them into the wing room on the second floor of the byway building. Thinking that Feng Jiu might not eat well outside during this period, Xianyuan Mose ordered a table full of her favorite dishes. "Eat more." He put some dishes in her bowl. After a while, the small bowl was piled up like a small hill. Feng Jiu handed the child to Lung Shuang. Then he picked up the chopsticks and said, "Enough. Don't take too much." One of them was eating, and the other was taking dishes. Most of the time, Feng Jiu was eating, and Xianyuan Mose was taking dishes. Seeing that Feng Jiu almost finished eating, Xianyuan Mose asked, "Did you go to Mo Chen's place last night?" "Yes, I took the lotus seed and asked him. He said that the lotus seed was not the ancient golden lotus, but it should be related to the ancient golden lotus. He said that it was an excellent thing." Feng Jiu said as he ate, "I even gave him a lotus seed. Are you still resting at his place?" Xianyuan Mose said sourly, "Yes. Who asked you to make me angry?" Feng Jiu glanced at him, put down his chopsticks, and drank a cup of wine. "I didn't plan to come back so early, but who knew that he kept chasing me away? I slept in the guest room for the whole night, but for some reason, I couldn't fall asleep." Hearing this, the corners of his lips curled up slightly, and his deep voice carried a smile. "Tonight, I'll sleep with you. My hand will be your pillow. You'll definitely be able to sleep soundly." Hearing this, Feng Jiu held back his smile and lightly sighed. I've been alone these past few days, and I've already gotten used to being alone. I suddenly feel that if there's another person in the bed, I won't be able to sleep well." She looked at him and said with a serious expression, "Also, we haven't gotten married yet. Sleeping with you is really damaging to my reputation. I feel that it's better if we live separately. Either way, your Ling residence is right next to my Feng residence." "No." Xianyuan Mose's face darkened and said, "We're already engaged." We're only missing the wedding ceremony and the wedding night. That's right. I feel that although we're engaged, the day of our wedding is still far away. As she spoke, she looked at him and asked, "When do you think we'll get married?" "As long as you want, any time is fine." It was clearly him who had been waiting for her to get married, but who knew that the wedding would be delayed again and again. Chapter 2777. Hearing his words, Feng Jiu sighed softly. Believe it or not, if we get married, not to mention the group of people who have designs on my ancient green lotus, even the people of the demon race will definitely take the opportunity to cause trouble. I really don't want all the relatives and friends who will come to our wedding to be in danger because of this. I also don't want our wedding to become a good opportunity for those people to take action. How could you not want them to get married as soon as possible? Hold a grand wedding and invite all their friends and family to attend? Give them their blessings? However, she also knew that if they really held a wedding, things would not go as they wished. Xin Yuan Mose looked at her deeply when he heard her words. It turned out that she had thought about it before, but she thought too much. She thought about all the things that might happen. He pondered deeply. If he wanted to eliminate all the hidden dangers that she was worried about, then he had to become the strongest in the world. He had to become a supreme expert who could destroy the world with a flick of his finger. What are you thinking about? Feng Jiu waved his hand in front of him. Seeing that he was thinking about something, he said, "The food is getting cold. Hurry up and eat. We'll go to the night market later and then go home." Hearing this, Xin Yuan Mose nodded. All right. He didn't say anything else and continued to eat. After the meal, they sat for a while, drank a cup of tea, paid the bill, and got up to leave. Lung Shuang took the child's place and followed them. After they left the building, Feng Jiu carried the child and walked with them to the main street. "Let's buy some toys for little Hao." Feng Jiu stopped in front of a stall. He picked up some toys and looked at them. In the end, he picked some for Lung Shuang to pay for and left. The three of them walked down the street. When they passed by a pancake stall, Feng Jiu stopped and said to Lung Shuang behind him, "Buy 2 pancakes." Lung Shuang was slightly surprised. Was his master not full? Why do you still want pancakes? Although she was puzzled, she did not ask. Instead, she took out some money and bought 2 pancakes. Xin Yuan Mose glanced at Feng Jiu. No one knew what he was thinking, but the corners of his lips curled up slightly. A trace of a smile flashed across his face. His gaze swept past the front, and he continued walking forward. The three of them walked until they came to a place at the corner of the street. Feng Jiu suddenly stopped and looked at the figure in beggar clothes sitting at the corner of the street. The weather is good tonight, and the people on the street are lively. Feng Jiu's voice rang out. When this voice reached the beggar's ears, he quickly raised his head and looked in the direction of the voice in surprise. "Master, Ghost Doctor Lung Shuang." He rolled and crawled over, wanting to pull on the corner of his master's clothes, but felt that his hands were very dirty, so he stood in front of them with a silly smile. Seeing Hui Lang suddenly appear in front of him, Xin Yuan Mose's eyes flashed with understanding. Lung Shuang was slightly surprised. This was Hui Lang? How'd he end up like this? He felt strange and sized him up, seeing that his spiritual power was sealed and his face was bruised and swollen. If he wasn't familiar with him, he wouldn't have recognized him. Feng Jiu smiled and looked at the gray wolf in front of her who was dressed like a beggar. She said, "Who are you? Don't shout, we don't know you." Chapter 2778. How could you possibly be Hui Lang? Even though Hui Lang isn't good-looking, he doesn't have a swollen and bruised face like yours. Feng Jiu pursed her lips as she spoke, playing with the child in her arms. Hearing this, Hui Lang couldn't help but stare blankly. Why didn't the ghost doctor recognize him? Why? He stared blankly, unable to understand even now. Look at you, your hands and feet are fine. Why don't you go find something to do? Feng Jiu glanced at him, shaking her head as she spoke. Hui Lang opened his mouth, wanting to speak, but he didn't know what to say to her. Feng Jiu looked at him blankly, standing there, and couldn't help but smile. "Are you hungry?" When Hui Lang heard this, he hurriedly nodded. "I'm hungry. I'm hungry." I've been hungry all day and haven't eaten anything. Master, ghost doctor, take me back. I think I must have done something wrong. Otherwise, Master and the ghost doctor wouldn't punish me like this. He scratched his head as he spoke. Even though his brain wasn't as sharp as Ing Yi's, he wasn't stupid. Seeing the two of them like this, how could he not understand that he must have done something wrong? Who knows when he offended the ghost doctor? Otherwise, how could he have ended up as a beggar? Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. A beggar? That's right. Why did he become a beggar? Didn't he just meet a little beggar yesterday and say a few words? Thinking of this, he was instantly dumbfounded. He finally understood why he was sent to become a beggar. It turns out that he really did offend the ghost doctor. Thinking of what he said when he met the little beggar yesterday, then looking at the ghost doctor and Master in front of him, he even had the heart to die. Why was his reaction so slow? Only now did he remember. Seeing his expression change, Fengjiu smiled and said to the Lung Shuang behind her, "Aren't there still 2 pancakes? Give them to him." Hearing this, Lung Shuang stepped forward and handed the 2 pancakes that were still steaming hot to Hui Lang. Lung Shuang finally realized that the 2 pancakes his master bought were for Hui Lang. Holding the 2 pancakes, Hui Lang looked at them with a long face and said, "Master, ghost doctor, I know I was wrong. Can you let me go back earlier?" At this point, Xianyuan Mose, who had been silent all this while, finally spoke up. "Since you're allowed to be a beggar here, then be a beggar for a few days. Just treat it as training." As soon as he finished speaking, he left with Fengjiu and the others, ignoring Hui Lang. Holding the pancakes, Hui Lang watched as they left in front of him, leaving him standing at the corner of the street. If it wasn't for the 2 warm pancakes in his hands, he wouldn't have believed that they had just been here. Fengjiu played with the child on the road. The 3 of them didn't take a carriage but walked leisurely. However, when they reached the corner of the street, they saw that there were many onlookers in front of them. Faintly, the voices of those onlookers could be heard. "That girl should be from outside. It's rare to see her. She's also unlucky to come out alone and meet the one-eyed man on the street. No one dares to provoke this one-eyed man in this area. I think that girl looks familiar, as if I've seen her before." Chapter 2779. That's right. That girl is not weak either. Fengjiu and the other 2 paused when they heard what the crowd was saying. They looked towards the crowd, but their line of sight was blocked by the people in front of them. They could not see clearly what was going on. Fengjiu said to Lung Shuang, "Let's go take a look." Why did she feel that these people might be talking about Yin Shuixin? Lung Shuang nodded slightly and walked forward, squeezing through the crowd. When she saw the scene in front of her, her eyes flashed, and she quietly retreated. She glanced at Xianyuan Mose, then looked at her master and said, "Master, the girl they are talking about is Miss Yin." Fengjiu's mouth twitched when she heard that. She had guessed correctly? Instinctively, she looked at Xianyuan Mose and said with a faint smile, "It's your junior sister." Xianyuan Mose's expression was normal as he said, "It's okay. She can protect herself with her strength. So we don't have to pay attention to her." Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and asked, "Since she can handle it, she doesn't need our help." Based on his understanding of Yin Shuixin, the average person here could not possibly be her opponent. After all, she was not a weak woman. Her strength was at the top of her family's younger generation. If she could not even deal with such a person, then she would not be Yin Shuixin. When she heard that, Fengjiu thought about it for a moment. Then, her eyes shifted and she said, "Although that's true, he is still our guest. It doesn't seem too good to let our guest face something like this." As she spoke, she handed the child to Xianyuan Mose and said, "I'll go take a look." Xianyuan Mose shook his head helplessly. He knew that she was someone who wanted to see the world in chaos. Fengjiu walked forward, and the crowd was suddenly pushed aside. They were about to turn around and curse. But when they saw that it was Ghost Dr. Fengjiu, they could not help but open their mouths and quickly move aside to make a path. When she came to the front, she saw Yin Shuixin, who was dressed in white and had an outstanding appearance, standing in a corner with a cold expression. In front of her was a burly one-eyed man. The corners of Yin Shuixin's lips curled up slightly. She swept her gaze around and looked at some of the rogue cultivators in the surroundings. There were about 10 of them in total. Adding the strength of the one-eyed man, they were more than enough to be a street bully. However, Yun Shueshin's strength was at the immortal sage realm. She wasn't someone that could be defeated by ordinary people. Thinking of this, she crossed her arms in front of her chest and watched calmly. She wondered why this one-eyed man was so blind as to target Yun Shueshin. What? Carry this little girl back for me. As the one-eyed man spoke, the corners of his mouth curled into an evil smile as he stared at the beautiful woman in white with a graceful figure. He was already thinking about what to do with this beauty after he carried her back. Boss, this woman doesn't look like a girl from an ordinary family. Won't it cause trouble if we really attack her? A rogue cultivator asked in a low voice. He felt that the woman in white did not show any fear even when surrounded by them, so he could not help but feel uncertain. Chapter 2780. A red mark slowly seeped out from the man's neck, and a faint smell of blood permeated the air. This scene gave the surrounding onlookers a fright, and they all retreated one after another. Some of them looked in horror at the white-clothed woman who had taken the man's life with a single move. Feng Jiu raised her eyebrows. Seeing that Yun Shueshin was looking at her, she walked forward with her sword in hand, ignoring the one-eyed man who had one eye wide open in shock. She came before Feng Jiu and looked at Feng Jiu as she said, "Ghost Doctor, I'm your guest. Are you going to watch your guest be bullied like this?" Feng Jiu's lips curled slightly, and he said with a smile, "With Miss Yun's strength, it's more than enough to deal with these hooligans. It's rare to see Miss Yun's heroic appearance, so I naturally won't let go of this opportunity." Yun Shueshin quietly looked at Feng Jiu, and her eyes swept past her enchanting and beautiful face. She looked at Xianyuan Mose, who was walking forward with a child in his arms, and asked, "Does senior brother feel the same way?" Xianyuan Mose looked at her, as usual, and then glanced at the corpses on the ground. He said in a low voice, "With your strength, these people won't be able to get close to you, so there's no possibility of you being bullied." Hearing this, Yun Shueshin raised the sharp sword in her hand. An ray of sword chi shot out from her hand. She didn't even turn around, and the ray of sword chi accurately struck the one-eyed man who was about to slip away. Bang! The one-eyed man didn't even have the chance to scream before he fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. His body twitched, and he stopped breathing. Yun Shueshin lowered her eyes and put away the long sword in her hand. Her emotionless voice sounded softly. "Senior brother is right. How can these people be my match? With their strength, they won't be able to get close to me, but..." Her voice paused, and she raised her beautiful eyes to look at Xianyuan Mose. "Senior brother's indifference to me has hurt Shueshin's heart. Does senior brother know that Shueshin cares about senior brother?" Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose was stunned. He subconsciously looked at Feng Jiu, afraid that she would misunderstand. Who knew that she would have such thoughts? She had never expressed such thoughts before, and he had never thought about it in that direction. Feng Jiu played with the hair that fell in front of her chest, and her lips curled into a smile. She looked deeply at Yun Shueshin and said leisurely, "Miss Yun's confession in front of more than a dozen corpses on the ground. It's really shocking." As soon as Feng Jiu's words came out, the stunned people around also came to their senses. "That's right. This girl has an extraordinary temperament and is so beautiful. How could she do such a thing? You really can't judge a book by its cover. What's so strange? Didn't you see how she took those people's lives without even blinking her eyes? Although they were ruffians, she killed them in one move. No one else can do that." Yun Shueshin didn't seem to hear the words around her, and her expression was normal. She looked at the expressionless Xianyuan Mose and said softly, "Senior brother, I just couldn't control myself." Xianyuan Mose didn't say anything. He only frowned slightly and looked at her deeply. Chapter 2781. Hearing these words, no matter how well-mannered Yun Shueshin was, her expression still changed. She coldly glanced at Fengjiu, then looked at Xianyuan Mose, who had not spoken the entire time. She knew in her heart that this was just her wishful thinking. But so what if it was like this? Fengjiu was right. Xianyuan Mose was so outstanding. Her heart was in love with him. So what was strange about her not being able to control her feelings? This was like a man loving a woman's beauty and a woman loving a man's excellence. Wasn't this very normal? For an outstanding woman like her, with her family's strength and appearance, how could she be interested in a normal man? Only someone like Xianyuan Mose, who exuded the aura of a noble emperor, was worthy of her, Yun Shuixin. So what if he loved the ghost Dr. Fengjiu? She did not believe that she, Yun Shuixin, who was outstanding in all aspects, would lose to Fengjiu, who came from a small place. Senior brother. She looked at Xianyuan Mose. Just as she was about to speak, she was interrupted by his words. You should move out of the Feng Manor, Xianyuan Mose said in a low voice. His gaze indifferently glanced at her. I will have someone prepare a new courtyard for you. He definitely would not allow a woman with ulterior motives to exist at his side. Even if this person was his junior sister, even if she had saved his life, it was still the same. Yun Shuixin opened her beautiful eyes wide in disbelief. Her eyes were filled with hurt. Senior brother wants to chase me away? Senior brother promised to take care of me, but now you want to chase me away? Xianyuan Mose furrowed his brow. It is not suitable for you to live in the Feng Manor. Even if he did not understand women's hearts, he could still hear how provocative her words were. Saying those words in front of Fengjiu, she wanted to drive a wedge between the two of them. It was just that she had underestimated the feelings between him and Fengjiu. The feelings that they had developed along the way were not something that could be stirred up with just a few words from her. Yun Shuixin looked at him. Her eyes were filled with tears, which made her look a bit weak. Her voice faintly drifted out. Senior brother, if you won't let me live in the Feng Manor, then I can live in your manor. I'm here alone. How can you bear to let me live outside by myself? Fengjiu didn't say anything. He just looked at Yun Shuixin with a faint smile. She was still wondering how long she could pretend. He didn't expect her to be unable to hold herself back after coming out alone tonight. However, it had to be said that Yun Shuixin was indeed a rare beauty. Looking at the expression on her face, it was as if she had been wronged. Her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she stared at Xianyuan Mose. If someone with weak willpower saw her like this, their heart would probably soften. Unfortunately, Mose was not an ordinary person, and her extravagant hopes were destined to fail. Ajio, let's go back. Xianyuan Mose retracted his gaze and did not look at Yun Shuixin. Instead, he held the child who was blinking her clear eyes and eating her fist in one hand. He held Fengjiu's hand with the other and led her away. Lung Shuang was a few steps behind them. When she turned around to leave, she looked at Yun Shuixin and coldly said, Miss Yun, it is good for people to know their own limits. After saying this, she did not look at Yun Shuixin, whose face had turned pale in an instant. Instead, she quickly followed her master's footsteps. Chapter 2782. Sitting in the carriage, Xianyuan Mose looked at Fengjiu, who was obviously in a good mood. He was a little confused, so he asked carefully, Jiu, are you happy that she confessed to me? He thought that she would be angry, but who would have thought that she was actually quite happy? Why was that? Hearing this, Fengjiu glanced at him. Seeing that he was sitting up nervously, as if waiting for her answer, she said, What's there to be unhappy about? She likes you, which proves that I have good taste. You're outstanding, especially since such an outstanding man was Fengjiu's. Thinking of this, the corners of her lips curled up happily. Sigh, seeing that Yun Shuixin's heart was broken and she couldn't get what she wanted, why was she so happy? Yes, it should be a bad taste. You're not angry? Xianyuan Mose breathed a sigh of relief, but he was still a little confused. Angry? Fengjiu raised his eyebrows. Why should I be angry? Just because she likes you? Seeing that he nodded with a slightly stunned expression, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. Idiot! How could she forget that this was a piece of thousand-year-old ice, a piece of thousand-year-old ice that no one could get close to? Even though they had always been apart more than together, she never doubted that he would fall in love with another woman and treat her differently. When they were together, they rarely got angry or quarreled. It seemed that this time when she was sulking, he was a little worried that she would get angry again. She narrowed her eyes, looked him up and down, and said, "We didn't have a good chat this time. Your junior sister is from overseas, and you went there with your master. You even stayed with her family. Did something happen that I don't know about? You didn't tell me about it?" Hearing this, Xianyuan Mo's eyes flashed. "This, really?" Fengjiu raised her voice and stared at him. It's a long story. I'll tell you in detail when we get back to the courtyard." He laughed bitterly and said helplessly. Hearing this, Fengjiu didn't ask any more questions. It seemed like there really was something she didn't know about. For Mo's to agree to stay here and take care of Yin Shuoxin, what could it be? She couldn't help but be curious. On the other side, the dozen or so corpses on the ground had been taken care of. Yin Shuoxin walked towards the Feng Manor as the night deepened. Thinking about what happened tonight, she couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Impulse is a bad thing. Even with her temperament, she was still provoked to the point of being impulsive. It could be seen that this ghost, Dr. Fengjiu, was indeed difficult to deal with. However, he wanted her to move out? How was she going to get out of this situation? Once Xianyuan Mo said that there was no turning back. What should he do? How could he break this stalemate? She thought to herself. Suddenly, she faintly heard a voice enter her ears. Immediately, she stopped walking towards the Feng Manor. She looked all around her and quietly retreated. She then followed the voice in the direction of a voice. Feng Manor in the courtyard. Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's were sitting in a room. She looked at Xianyuan Mo's, who had been drinking tea the entire time, and said, "Didn't you say that we'll talk about it after we get back to the manor? This Yin Shuoxin actually came for you, right?" Chapter 2783. Fengjiu glanced at him. "That's not what I want to know." Xianyuan Mo's was stunned for a moment. After calming down, he said, "She saved my life." Seeing her raise her eyebrows and look at him, waiting for his next words, he sighed softly. "It was because she saved my life that I promised to take care of her when she came with Master's letter." Hearing this, Fengjiu suddenly understood. So that's how it was. No wonder he, who didn't respect his master, would promise to take care of Yin Shuoxin. It turned out that there was something she didn't know. "She saved your life when you were overseas? Were you injured? Or what?" She frowned slightly and asked. When he came back, he didn't say anything. She also didn't know that he had an accident when he went out. At that time, the matter that I helped Master with was very troublesome. When we were overseas, we were even hunted down. At that time, I was seriously injured and had to hide from those people. Master found Junior Sister and sent me to their family to help cover for them. Speaking of this, he sighed softly. The force that chased us was very strong. At that time, when the Yin family protected me, they risked being exterminated. Moreover, at that time, I was infected with the golden heart corroding insect. It was Junior Sister who risked her life to find something to lure the golden heart corroding insect out for me. It was because of this that I was able to survive. How could he not know that he would never forget a person's kindness? However, he had always thought that Yin Shuoxin only saw him as her senior brother because of the friendship of fellow disciples. He didn't expect that Fengjiu's heart couldn't help but rise when she heard this. "Why didn't you tell me about such a dangerous thing when you came back? Golden heart corroding insect? That's a poison that burrows into the bones and blood. Moreover, to lure out the golden heart corroding insect, it's necessary." Her voice paused and her expression changed slightly. For a moment, she didn't speak. The only way to lure out the golden heart corroding insect is to use blood as a guide and add the golden heart corroding insect's favorite 7-leaf tip. Xianyuan Mo's said slowly. Looking at Fengjiu's expression, he knew that she had already thought of the difficulty Yin Shuoxin had in getting the medicine. The place where the 7-leaf tips grow must have extremely poisonous things, and there must be quite a lot of them. She looked at him with a complicated expression, Back then, she must have spent a lot of effort to get the guiding medicine goo for you. Xinyuan Mose pondered for a moment, then said, although I was heavily injured at that time and was in a semi-coma, my consciousness was still very clear. Thus, I knew that after Junior Sister drew out the golden heart erosion insect for me, she was bedridden for several days. At that time, I was recuperating in the Yun family for about half a month. Hearing this, Fengjiu looked at him deeply and said, why didn't you tell me that you encountered such danger outside? If you tell me that Yin Shuexin once saved your life like this, no matter how much I hate her, I will still give her some face. I was also afraid that you would be worried. Moreover, my body had already recovered by the time I returned. Naturally, I didn't want to tell you and make you worry. He laughed softly and held her hand, saying, it's okay. Since you don't like her, then I will think of other ways to repay her kindness. Fengjiu furrowed her brows and pondered for a moment. This kind of kindness couldn't be repaid with ordinary things. Mose was her man, and she naturally didn't want her man to owe another woman a favor that hadn't been repaid. Chapter 2784. I'll think of a way. I'll repay this favor for you. Fengjiu held his hand and said, if there's anything in the future, don't hide it from me. Hearing this, Mo Zay's heart warmed. I'm a man. How can I let you shoulder everything? Don't worry. I'll think of a way to repay this favor. He was a man. Naturally, he couldn't say that she had to shoulder his matters. Furthermore, he owed her, so he naturally had to repay it. He wanted to shelter her from the wind and rain and protect her for the rest of her life. Naturally, he couldn't let her shoulder everything. Protect her for the rest of her life. His heart trembled. With his current strength as a heavenly god, he could be considered a top powerhouse on this continent. However, if he wanted to become a powerhouse in this world, to become a powerhouse that everyone in this world feared, to be able to protect her for the rest of her life, he had to become even stronger. Otherwise, when they met an enemy stronger than them, they would fall into a dead end. When he thought of this, he looked at her. He looked at the person in his heart. Even if he couldn't bear to see her suffer so much and encounter so many difficulties and dangers along the way, even if he couldn't bear to see her fall and rise again on this path of cultivation, he still had to let her grope and crawl along this path. Only when she stood at the peak, only when her strength could dominate everything, only when her strength could kill all the powerhouses in the world, could she and he look down on this world and not fear anyone. Ajio. His deep voice rang out. Fengjiu looked at him. Seeing his solemn and cold expression, he couldn't help but feel a little surprised. This continent won't be our final stop. If we want to dominate everything and protect the people we want to protect, then we have to become even stronger until we can stand at the peak of this world. His voice paused for a moment. Then he said, so, let's go cultivate together. The path of cultivation has 9 heavens. The 9 heavens are beyond the heavens, the path to immortality on the immortal ladder, the heaven and earth in the profound light sect, and the immortal island of Penglai. We have to go again. Hearing this, Fengjiu was slightly stunned. She didn't expect him to say something like this. After so long, this was the first time he said that they should cultivate together and become stronger together. You mean that we should go to the immortal island of Penglai and use the immortal ladder to go to the place behind that door to cultivate and increase our strength? Yes. He nodded and said, our strength may be the strongest here, but there are stronger people outside of us. If we want to be fearless of anyone, then we have to stand at the peak of this world. He looked at her deeply and said in a deep voice, I want to give you a grand wedding so that everyone can share our happiness, so that you won't have to fear anyone in this world. I want you to live a worry-free life. And if you want to do all this, you have to become a supreme expert. Looking at the seriousness and determination in his eyes and listening to his words, Fengjiu's heart shook violently. She didn't speak for a long time and just held his hand tightly until her heart gradually calmed down. Chapter 2785. But she blinked and smiled. The immortal ascension stairs will only appear in a year's time. Don't worry, we can settle everything here in a year's time. A year's time was more or less enough to arrange things. After all, they would have a long journey ahead of them. That's true. As she spoke, her heart skipped a beat. Then what about our son? To be honest, we still haven't figured out his background. If we leave him here, I won't be at ease. But if we bring him with us, I'm worried that no one will be able to take care of him. Moreover, if we don't reach the immortal Emperor realm, we won't be able to reach the top of the immortal ascension stairs. It was because of this that she didn't go through the door directly. She could go, but what about them? Hearing this, Xin Yuan Mo stood up and gently knocked her head. Where's your usual cleverness? Let's not talk about that little guy. Even if you want to bring Lung Shuang, Lung Hua, and the others with you, you could do it too. She looked at him in confusion. She didn't understand. Seeing that she really couldn't figure it out, he couldn't help but smile and shake his head. Have you forgotten that you have a treasure of heaven and earth on you? It's a treasure of space that can contain life. Hearing this, Feng Jiu's eyes widened in shock. You're saying that we should bring them all into the space and then bring them there? Yes, we can use the space to bring them there. However, even if they're Lung Shuang, Lung Hua, and the others who are loyal to you, you can't let them know about your space. So even if you want to bring them into the space, you have to do it while they're unconscious. She had a treasure of space, and it wasn't an ordinary space. Even if they were her confidants, she couldn't let them know about it. Hearing this, Feng Jiu slapped her head. That's right. How could I be so stupid? I didn't think of this and was worried about it. I'm so stupid, so stupid. She slapped her head and suddenly laughed foolishly. How about this, if we go there, I can bring them all with me. At that moment, she was incomparably grateful for the gift her nominal master had given her back then. Xin Yuan Mose looked at her with amusement and said, Then find a time to pick out the people you want to bring along and make preparations in advance. He paused for a moment before continuing. Arrange everything as soon as possible. We'll find a time to go back and meet your parents and my father. We'll tell them about our plans so that they don't have to worry. Feng Jiu smiled and nodded. Don't worry. I'll arrange it as soon as possible. She looked at him, and her heart felt warm and sweet. She took a step forward, wrapped her arms around his waist, and buried her face in his chest. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. She knew everything. Hearing this, Xin Yuan Mose's eyes overflowed with tenderness. He hugged her with one hand and stroked her hair with the other. His low and magnetic voice was filled with unconcealable affection. Silly girl. Chapter 2786. As the night deepened, the two of them prepared to rest. Lung Hua, who was outside the courtyard, rushed in. Seeing that the lights were still on in the room, he immediately said, Master, Yama Lord, something has happened. When the two people in the room heard this, they couldn't help but look at each other. They walked out and saw that Lung Hua was covered in blood. Feng Jiu narrowed her eyes and asked, What happened? Lung Hua glanced at Xin Yuan Mose and said, Master, when Du Fan and I came back, we met Miss Yin not far from the main gate. At that time, she was covered in injuries and her steps were unsteady. Before we could get close, she fainted. At that time, someone seemed to be chasing her from behind. After seeing me and Du Fan, that person left in the dark. Seeing that she seemed to be seriously injured and had lost a lot of blood, we quickly brought her back. Du Fan is now sending her back to her courtyard. Hearing this, Xin Yuan Mose's brows furrowed. His hands were clasped behind his back. No one knew what he was thinking. Feng Jiu's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise when she heard this. There's actually someone in this city who can injure her and make her faint? She glanced at Xin Yuan Mose and said, Let's go and take a look. Xin Yuan Mose nodded and walked with her towards Yun Shuexin's courtyard. Lung Hua followed behind them and walked towards the backyard. When they arrived at the courtyard, Du Fan was already waiting there. When he saw them enter, he stepped forward and called out, Yama Lord, Master, she's already in the room. They nodded slightly and walked in. As soon as they entered the room, the strong smell of blood assaulted their nostrils. When they walked into the room and saw Yun Shuexin lying on the bed, they were even more surprised. Yun Shuexin's white clothes were almost dyed red by the blood. Her clothes were torn, and there were many wounds on her body. It was indeed a ghastly sight. Feng Jiu stepped forward to check on her. After a long time, he withdrew his hand and said to Xin Yuan Mose, "Her internal injuries are not light. 2 of her left ribs are broken. Other than that, the rest are external injuries. Although there are many wounds on her body, they're not fatal. It's just that she has lost a lot of blood, her breathing is unstable, and her face is pale. She will need at least 10 days to half a month to recover." Xin Yuan Mose looked at Leng Hua and asked, "Didn't you see who attacked her? With her strength, it's impossible for an ordinary person to injure her to this extent. If they fought, it would definitely attract the attention of others. Go and order people to investigate. You must find the source of the problem." "Yes, sir," Leng Hua responded and then left. "Du Fan, have Leng Hua come over and bandage her wounds." Feng Jiu ordered Du Fan, who was standing to the side. "Okay." Du Fan also responded and left. After they left, Feng Jiu looked at Xin Yuan Mose and asked, "Are you suspicious?" Xin Yuan Mose looked at him and nodded without denying it. "That's right. I suspect that the person who injured her to this extent might be from overseas. However, one thing is certain. The person's strength is comparable to Yun Shuexin's." He walked around the room with his hands behind his back and said, "However, who is the person? We have to wait until she wakes up and ask her." He stopped and looked at Feng Jiu. "Have the manner be more vigilant. If you have to go out sooner or later, let me go with you. It's better to be careful." Chapter 2787. The two chatted for a while in the room. Not long after, Leng Shuang came over. "Master Yamagad." Leng Shuang saluted the two. Smelling the scent of blood in the room, she looked inside. "Go help her bandage her wound. Then give her this pill." Feng Jiu handed her a bottle and glanced at Xin Yuan Mose. This glance made Xin Yuan Mose feel a bit confused and asked, "What is it? Your junior sister has been sent back to her courtyard for so long, yet we haven't thought of stopping her bleeding. With this amount of blood, her body will be a bit weak when she recovers." She did not pay attention to it, but Mose probably did not expect it at all. That's right. How could a person who did not care about anything think of stopping her bleeding first, even if it wasn't life-threatening? It was only when she, who was at the top of his heart, was injured that he would panic. Thinking of this, her eyes curved into a smile. Xin Yuan Mose did not know what she was thinking and only said, "Didn't you just say it? The wounds on her body are only small. They won't be a problem." It wasn't life-threatening. Before Leng Shuang came to bandage her, it was fine if she bled a bit. After all, to have him apply medicine for her, that was impossible. To have Feng Jiu apply medicine for her, that was even more impossible. "And she won't die. Bleeding a bit is fine," Feng Jiu said with a smile. Let's go. Have Leng Shuang bandage her. We'll go back first." Hearing this, Xin Yuan Mose held her hand and walked back. On the way back, Feng Jiu said, "She is currently injured and unconscious. Let's postpone her moving out. After all, she was the person who saved his life. In her current state, it was not suitable for her to move out of the Feng Manor." "You can decide," Xin Yuan Mose said. "Next, I will need to arrange some matters in the Yen Hall. I will be a bit busy." All right. I'll get someone to look after her." Suddenly, Xin Yuan Mose stopped in his tracks, as if he was thinking about something. When Feng Jiu saw him like this, she stopped and looked at him quietly. After a while, she saw him look at her. "You said that in addition to internal injuries, she also had 2 broken ribs?" Feng Jiu blinked and nodded. "Yes. Didn't I say it just now?" She saw him frown slightly and asked, "Is there something wrong?" Xin Yuan Mose looked at her and sighed softly. "During the time you weren't here, occasionally she would ask me to go out with her. She always knew when to advance and when to retreat. She never showed any affection for me. Naturally, I didn't think that way. I just thought that she treated me as her martial brother." His voice paused and his brows furrowed. His expression sank as he said, "But after what she said on the street tonight, and seeing that she is injured and unconscious, the original plan to have her move out has been postponed. This has caused me to have a bold guess." Fengjiu was also a smart person and understood what he meant. Hearing this, she was stunned. "You mean, could it be that she became like this on her own?" Xinyuan Mo's replied with a frown. Once the seed of suspicion was planted, it was impossible to believe it again. Just like how he never thought that she would fall in love with him and came to his side with ulterior motives. Chapter 2788. She held his hand and said, "Her injury was caused by an external force. Moreover, the internal injury was located in a place where she couldn't injure herself. The external injuries on her body were also caused by an external force, so the injury wasn't deep." After saying this, she looked at his tightly knitted brows and asked, "Why do you suspect that she would do that?" Xinyuan Mose saw that she was looking at him with a puzzled expression and said, "Jio, she's not an ordinary person. She comes from a top family. She has a good reputation overseas. She's about the same age as you, and her strength is already at the sage immortal level. I think it's possible that she would do something because she likes me." He held her hand and walked as he said, "Before this, I treated her differently. Other than the reasons, it was also because she is very outstanding in all aspects. An outstanding person will be appreciated by others no matter where they are. She's like that. However, tonight's attack on her came at a coincidence. Moreover, what she said on the street first. So I can't have such suspicions." Hearing this, Fengjiu thought for a moment and said, "I'll be more careful. Don't worry. If it was really as he guessed, then Yin Shuexin's scheming was really not ordinary. A person who dared to be so ruthless to herself was an opponent who could not be ignored." The next day, because she went to bed late last night, Fengjiu woke up late. When she got up, she saw that Xinyuan Mose was already gone, so she washed up and went out of the room. "You're awake?" I asked the kitchen to prepare breakfast. "You can eat it now." Xinyuan Mose, who was dressed in a black robe, was sitting at the table in the courtyard, reading a book in his hand. He was standing in a corner of the courtyard. She walked over and looked at the breakfast on the table. She smiled and said, "It's all my favorite food." After she came out, Xinyuan Mose put away the book in his hand and scooped a bowl for her. "Eat more. Last night, you said that you had to deal with the matters at hand. I thought you had left early." She picked up some side dishes to eat. "I will accompany you to eat breakfast before returning to the Ling residence. I have already instructed Yi to call some people over. I will make some arrangements." As he helped her pick up the food, he said, "I will handle the matters in the Ling residence. If there's anything, you can look for me." Fengjiu replied. After eating breakfast, he wiped the corners of his mouth and stood up. "Go do your work. Don't worry about things here." Hearing this, Xinyuan Mose revealed a smile and looked at her gently. "Don't tire yourself out. I will be back later." As he spoke, he left with Yi and headed towards the Ling residence. After Fengjiu had people tidy up the things on the table in the courtyard, he also left the courtyard and walked towards Yin Shuexin's courtyard. When he arrived outside, he was greeted by Leng Hua. "Master, is that woman awake?" Fengjiu asked and walked forward. "I was just about to tell you that she has woken up." Leng Hua followed beside him and said. Fengjiu nodded. When she came to the courtyard, she saw that Leng Shuang was also there. She asked, "Leng Shuang, come here. Who is taking care of Hao?" "It's Qingcheng," Leng Shuang said. Chapter 2789. Yun Shuexin was lying on the bed. Her beautiful face was currently pale and weak. Her eyes were closed, as if she was frowning because of the pain from her wounds. When she heard the sound of footsteps, she slowly opened her eyes and looked at the person who had come. "How do you feel?" Fengjiu walked over and pulled over a chair to the side. He sat on the bed and looked at her. Yun Shuexin looked behind her and saw that only Leng Shuang had followed her. When her senior brother did not come, a trace of disappointment flashed through her heart. She closed her eyes and said with an indifferent expression, "I won't die yet." Hearing this, Fengjiu's lips curled into a smile. "You won't die from such a small injury. At most, you'll have to lie in bed for 10 days to half a month. However, this is also good. You're already injured like this, so I naturally can't bear to have you move out of the foam manor. You can stay here for now and recover from your injuries first." His clear eyes fell on her face, but he saw that she had closed her eyes and her face was calm and indifferent. He could not see anything. Seeing this, Fengjiu leaned back and sat down leisurely. He looked at her on the bed and said, "How did Miss Yin encounter an attack last night? Who was it that attacked Miss Yin?" "I will only tell my senior brother." She turned her head slightly and looked at Fengjiu. "If you want to know, have my senior brother come see me." Fengjiu chuckled. He played with the black hair that fell in front of his chest. His gentle voice carried a bit of carelessness and ridicule. "Miss Yun's family has truly opened my eyes. To be honest, I have never seen a girl like Miss Yun." Lung Shuang poured a cup of tea for Fengjiu. After Fengjiu received it, he gently scraped the tea and took a sip. He then played with the tea in his hand and said to Lung Shuang, "Miss Yun's injuries should be changed." "Yes." Lung Shuang responded and went forward to change the medicine for Yun Shuexin's injuries. Fengjiu did not say anything else. He only used the tea lid to play with the tea and sat there with his eyes closed. No one knew what he was thinking. On the bed, Yun Shuexin allowed Lung Shuang to change the medicine for her. I did not say anything else. As time passed, Lung Shuang changed the medicine for Yun Shuexin's injuries. He then returned to Fengjiu's side. "Master, it's done." Fengjiu's injuries. Yun Shuexin's injuries. "Last night, I had someone feed you an inner core. You want to see results with just an inner core? Ghost doctor, you think too highly of your pills." Yun Shuexin said slowly. Her expression was indifferent, and she did not look at her. Fengjiu nodded when he heard this. "That's true. You need an inner core a day to heal your internal injuries. Otherwise, you'll have problems in the future." As she spoke, she turned her palm and a bottle appeared in her hand. "Since you're Moses' junior sister, I'll take advantage of you." As she spoke, she handed the bottle in her hand to Lung Shuang. Lung Shuang stepped forward and took the pill. He brought it to Yun Shuexin and said in a cold voice, "Miss Yun, please open your mouth." Yun Shuexin frowned and stared at the pill. "What kind of pill is this? Why does it smell so strange?" Chapter 2790. She took a sip of tea and said slowly, "If anything happens to you while you're in my hands, I won't be able to explain it to your senior brother. Don't you think so? Moreover, who am I? I'm the ghost doctor. How can the pills I refine be the same as those refined by other pill masters? If I really wanted to harm you, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble." Hearing this, Yun Shuexin's eyes flashed slightly. She glanced at Fengjiu and perhaps felt that what Fengjiu said made sense. Hence, she glanced at the pill before opening her mouth slightly and swallowing it. Seeing this, Fengjiu's smile deepened. That's right. She did not leave. Instead, she passed the teacup to Lung Shuang and sat there looking at Yun Shuexin, who was lying on the bed. "Why aren't you leaving?" Yun Shuexin frowned at her. The medicine had been changed, and she had taken the inner pill. Why was she still sitting there? Fengjiu smiled. No rush. I have to see the effects of the medicine." Hearing this, Yun Shuexin ignored her and closed her eyes to rest. "Miss Yun is going to sleep? Didn't you just wake up? It's not good to sleep too much." Fengjiu looked at Yun Shuexin's frown because of her words and couldn't help but smile. Since Miss Yun wants to close your eyes and rest, that's good. Perhaps Miss Yun will remember who attacked you later. Hearing this, Yun Shuexin opened her eyes. Her gaze was fierce. "Fengjiu, what are you trying to do?" Because of this fierce shout, her internal injuries were in pain. For a moment, beads of cold sweat appeared on her forehead, and her face became as pale as paper. Seeing this, Fengjiu reached out and pressed her acupoints, saying, "Miss Yun, you're injured. It's really not suitable for you to be so angry. Also, you can't move recklessly. Otherwise, If you move your broken ribs, you'll have to move them again. That's not only troublesome, but also very painful. With her acupoint pressed and her body unable to move, Yun Shueshin glared at Feng Jiao. What are you trying to do? Quickly release my acupoint. No rush, no rush. Feng Jiao shook his head, looked at her, and asked, Miss Yin, I have a few questions for you. After you answer my questions, I will naturally unseal your acupoints. She looked at her with narrowed eyes and a smile on her face. Does Miss Yin know the person who attacked you? Hearing her words, Yin Shueshin answered almost instinctively, yes. However, her expression changed when she spoke. She pursed her lips tightly and stared at Feng Jiao with a cold and stern gaze. However, she didn't speak again. It was as if she was afraid that the moment she spoke, she wouldn't be able to control her words. Hearing her words, Feng Jiao's smile deepened. So you know each other. Then, is the person who attacked you your enemy? Large beads of cold sweat slid down Yun Shueshin's forehead. Her face was as pale as paper, as if she would faint at any time. She did not speak. She clenched her teeth tightly and pursed her lips. She stared fiercely at Feng Jiao, as if she wanted to skin her alive. Feng Jiao did not care. He only lowered his voice and asked again, Miss Yun, is the person who attacked you your enemy? Chapter 2791. Upon hearing this, Feng Jiao's eyes flickered, and the smile on her face gradually faded. She looked at Yun Shueshin, who was lying stiffly on the bed with a pale and weak face as she resisted the effects of the medicine. She continued to ask, Then, was it an accident that you were attacked and injured, or did you arrange it? When she asked this, she saw that Yun Shueshin had bitten her lips so hard that they were bleeding. Feng Jiao curled her lips into a cold smile. Miss Yun, don't try to resist the truest reaction in your heart. Come, tell me, was it an accident that you were attacked and injured, or did you arrange it? Yes, I arranged it. Feng Jiao, what did you do to me? Her voice was stiff and trembling. She bit her lips so hard that they were bleeding. Blood dyed her lips red, and it made her pale face look even more conspicuous. When the question came out, it gradually sounded weak and powerless. She tried to resist the words that rushed out of her mouth, but it exhausted her original physical strength. It was as if her entire body had been drained of energy. TSK, TSK. Feng Jiao stared at her and clicked her tongue. I didn't expect it. You're actually so cruel to yourself. When Mose told me about his suspicions, I didn't believe it. I didn't expect it to be true. I really didn't expect it. Her words made Yun Shueshin's heart even more shocked and upset. She looked at Feng Jiao and bit her lips. She wanted to ask a few questions, but she couldn't. Senior brother suspected her. She had done so well and flawlessly, yet senior brother still doubted her. Why? Why did he suspect her? If Feng Jiao hadn't done something to her, no one would have known what she had done. But why did senior brother suspect her? You're not a stupid person, so how did you come up with this idea? Don't tell me you think that Mose will take pity on you because you're injured? Feng Jiao sneered. She stood up and crossed her arms as she looked at Yun Shueshin, who was lying on the bed, unable to move. She said, I don't like scheming people. Although you are injured, since this is the result of your own actions, you can't blame me. There's something wrong with that pill of yours. She gritted her teeth and said hatefully, Nonsense. Do you think I'll let you eat it if there's no problem? Do you think just anyone can eat my pills? She gave a cold snort and looked down at her. Hearing this, Yun Shueshin gritted her teeth in anger. Feng Jiao, how dare he treat her like this? What? Not convinced? Feng Jiao sneered. It's useless to be unconvinced. Whether it's playing dirty or playing fair, you can't beat me. Feng Jiao retracted her gaze and looked at Leng Shuang. Stay here and watch over her. I'll ask Leng Hua to arrange for this woman to be sent out of the residence. If it was an accident, it would be one thing, but since it was her own arrangement, then don't blame her for giving her a taste of her own medicine. Yes. Leng Shuang replied, and was about to send Feng Jiao out when he heard Yun Shueshin's voice behind him. Do you think my senior brother will believe what you said? Fengjiu, who was about to leave, stopped in her tracks. She didn't walk back, but stood there and looked at her, waiting for her to continue. Men are all sentimental, especially an outstanding woman like me. Do you think my senior brother will let you chase me out? Do you think my senior brother will believe what I said just now? Yun Shuixin coldly stared at her, trying to sow discord. Chapter 2792. Hearing this, Fengjiu looked at her with a smile that was not a smile. You really are narcissistic. It's just that you don't understand my man, and you don't understand me. As soon as she finished speaking, she couldn't be bothered to look at her anymore. Instead, she walked out and said to Leng Hua, "Find a courtyard for her and send her there." Yes. Inside the room, Yun Shuixin heard the voice outside and angrily gritted her teeth. She had been too arrogant. If she knew that Fengjiu had that kind of abnormal pill, she definitely would not have done something like try and steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Leng Hua was very efficient. Before noon, a courtyard had been found. After obtaining Fengjiu's approval, he took Yun Shuixin out of the Feng Manor and moved her to a courtyard outside. Fengjiu only told his subordinates to look after her and did not pay any more attention to him. It was not until evening when Xinyuan Mo's returned that Fengjiu told him about this matter. That's why I used the truth pill to ask her everything. Fengjiu shrugged. I never thought that this junior sister of yours would be so cruel to herself. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to do it to myself. Hearing her words, Xinyuan Mo's expression became a bit ugly. He was silent for a while before saying, after her injuries have healed, I'll tell her to go back. All right, let's not talk about her anymore. That injury will take at most 10 days to half a month to recover. Fengjiu said this. He looked at her and asked, when do we plan on going back? Are we going to your father's place first? Or are we going to my grandfather's place? As she said this, she thought for a bit and said, my brother and the others have already gone back for a while. I don't know when they plan on coming back. If we want to go back, we'll probably have to bring it back a bit earlier. You should also take care of the matters here. Quickly take care of them, and then we can leave. Xinyuan Mo said. The two of them were talking and discussing matters. That night, in the small courtyard outside where Yun Shuixin was staying, a figure avoided the two guards sent by Fengjiu and entered the room as if there was no one else present. Have you been seen through? A figure came into her room and asked Yun Shuixin, who was lying on the bed. He was wearing a black cloak and a mask, so his figure and face could not be seen. Hearing the voice, Yun Shuixin, who was sleeping on the bed, opened her eyes and looked sideways at the person. She frowned and was a little displeased. Why are you here? I'm here to tell you not to forget about business. But looking at you now, it seems that you can't even get close to Fengjiu, let alone find a chance to do it. The black-robed man's voice turned cold as he stared at her coldly. I've already warned you not to waste your time on other things. If you don't do it, you'll be punished when you return. I didn't expect her to come back so suddenly. Her sudden appearance disrupted my plan, Yun Shuixin said coldly. Plan? Huh. The man sneered. Master didn't send you to seduce Xinyuan Mo's. Hearing the word seduce, Yun Shuixin's face turned from white to red, then from red to green and white. She was the proud daughter of a noble family. How could she be associated with the word seduce? I didn't seduce Senior. She gritted her teeth and said. Chapter 2793. Enough! Yun Shuixin shouted angrily. This shout caused her internal injuries to hurt. At the same time, the people guarding the small courtyard heard the noise and quickly rushed over. Hearing the noise outside, the man shook his head and was very disappointed. You really can't compare to Fengjiu. As soon as he finished speaking, the two guards outside rushed in. His black robes fluttered and a black aura filled the air. His entire person disappeared from the room. Who goes there? The guard's shouts rang out in the room. However, when they came in, they only saw Yun Shuixin on the bed. They glanced at her, then looked away and vigilantly looked around. Get out! Yun Shuixin endured the pain from her internal injuries and threw the pillow at them. Seeing this, the two guards retreated. When they were outside, one of them lowered his voice and said, "You stay here and keep watch. I'll go back and report to Master." Although they did not see anyone, they were certain that there was someone in the room. When the guards returned to the Feng Manor and told Fengjiu what had happened, Fengjiu smiled. "You two can come back tomorrow. I'll have Lung Hua arrange for 2 servant girls to go over." "Yes, sir," the guard replied and retreated. After the guards left, Xinyuan Mose asked from inside the room, "Are we letting her do as she pleases?" "Let her do as she pleases. Either way, we're preparing to leave. We'll just let her recover there." As Fengjiu spoke, he patted his head in annoyance. "I shouldn't have only asked those few questions. I made a mistake. I made a mistake." As night fell, the two of them prepared to rest. In the next few days, the two of them busied themselves with their own matters. Because of this, they completely forgot about Yun Shuixin, who was recovering in the courtyard. Yun Shuixin waited in the courtyard for a few days. Seeing that Fengjiu did not come again, and even her senior did not appear, she could not help but feel disheartened. As her injuries gradually healed, she could barely get out of bed and walk around. She thought that she should go to the Feng Manor again. However, on this night, 3 people came. "Master wants you to go back. It's not suitable for you to get involved in this matter." The cloaked man spoke in a deep voice. His cold eyes stared at Yun Shuixin, who was leaning against the headboard of the bed. He ignored her pale face and gestured with his hand. The 2 men in black behind him walked forward and helped her up from the bed. "I can't leave like this. She tried to say something, but before she could finish speaking, she was interrupted. "You should know that no one can change Master's decision. If he wants you to go back, then you have to go back," the man said coldly, looking at her with contempt. "What's more, I've never thought that a woman can do anything. In this world, there's only one ghost, Dr. Fengjiu. You can't compare to her." Shuixin, Yun Shuixin's, Yun Shuixin, Yun Shuixin's. "How can I not be compared to Fengjiu? That woman was just a woman who came from an unknown place. How can you be compared to me, Yun Shuixin?" Chapter 2794. The man's cold voice sounded in the room and entered Yun Shuixin's ears. She pursed her lips and did not speak again, allowing the 2 black-clothed men to help her up. "How do you plan to deal with Fengjiu next?" Yun Shuixin asked. "That's not something you should ask." The man coldly glanced at her and reached out to lift her chin. Looking at her pale face, he said, "What you should do right now is to nurse your body back to health. Master has another task for you." Yun Shuixin turned her face slightly and broke free from his touch. She coldly said, "My senior apprentice brother is an Empyrean god. His battle prowess is unfathomable. If you want to deal with Fengjiu, you must first lure him away. Otherwise, no matter how many people you have, if the 2 of them work together, you will not be able to take down Fengjiu. Do I need you to teach me how to do things? You should take care of yourself first." The man's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed through them. He signaled with his eyes, and the 2 men took her away. After the man swept his gaze over the small courtyard, he also turned and left. The next day, when the servant came in to serve, she discovered that Yun Shuixin had disappeared. Thus, she hurried back to the Feng Manor to report. "What? She disappeared?" Fengjiu raised an eyebrow and looked at the servant who had her head lowered. Yes. This servant went in this morning to help Miss Yun wash up, but I discovered that Miss Yun had disappeared. This servant failed in her duty and did not take good care of Miss Yun. Master, please punish me." The servant's voice trembled and her heart was panicking. She still lowered her head and knelt in front of Fengjiu. Hearing this, Fengjiu waved his hand. "That's enough. You may rise." As he spoke, he said, "Come with me to take a look." He left the Feng Manor and went to the small courtyard. When he arrived at the small courtyard, he entered Yun Shuixin's room to take a look. He saw that there were no signs of a struggle in the room. Everything was neatly arranged. However, the blankets on the bed had been lifted and were not folded properly. Thus, he looked at the servant behind him and asked, "Has this room been tidied up?" Replying to Master, "It hasn't." This servant discovered that Miss Yun had disappeared and quickly returned to the manor to report. This place has not been touched. Feng Jiu nodded and waved his hand. I understand. You may return to the Feng Manor. There is no need to keep watch here. After the servant girl acknowledged her words and retreated, she walked forward and stood beside the bed. It was unknown what she was thinking, but after a long time, she walked outside. Xinyuan Mose was in the middle of instructing his subordinates about the handover when he heard Ing Yi say that Feng Jiu had arrived. Thus, he sent his subordinates back first and went outside himself. Is there something you need from me? He sat down in the courtyard outside and signaled the guard to pour 2 cups of tea. I came to tell you that your junior sister ran away. As Feng Jiu spoke, she sat down at the table and looked at Xinyuan Mose with both hands supporting her chin. With SS. She can leave on her own? I just went to the small courtyard to take a look. She was probably taken away by someone. It should be the person who injured her. Right now, there are no signs of a struggle. So the person who took her away should be someone she knows. Hearing this, Xinyuan Mose nodded. It's good that she left. Originally, I wanted her to leave. Now that she is left on her own, at least it won't be so ugly. Chapter 2795. I'll go with you. I'm almost done with the things I have on hand, Xinyuan Mose said as he stood up and looked at her. Seeing this, Feng Jiu said, that's fine too. Thus, he asked someone to prepare a carriage, and the 2 of them sat in the carriage and went to the Heavenly Pill building. When they reached the building, Feng Jiu asked Leng Hua and Du Fan to call the Phoenix Guards and the manager of the building to the backyard. Seeing more than 10 people gathered together, Feng Jiu stretched out his hand and set up a soundproof barrier in the courtyard. When they saw that their master had set up a soundproof barrier here, everyone was a little surprised. They thought, could it be that something big had happened? I want to tell you that Mose and I plan to go to Penglai Immortal Island's Immortal Ascension Ladder after some time. There's a door of light on the Immortal Ascension Ladder that leads to another world. We're going there to improve our strength, so we're going to bring some people with us. Hearing their master's words, more than 10 people couldn't help but feel nervous. Would their master bring them there? For a moment, their hearts beat fiercely, and they were so nervous that their palms were sweating. We can't bring too many people there, so I only plan to choose 8 people to go with me. Seeing how they were holding their breaths, Feng Jiu continued. Actually, you don't have to think that going there is a good thing. The people there are stronger. When you go there, you have to start all over again. You have to be careful in everything. Master, we're not afraid. Master, take me there. Master, I'm not afraid either. Master, please take me there too. Master, they all scrambled to be the first to speak, afraid that they would be left behind. Although it was not bad for them to be here, they wanted to follow their master to gain experience and grow together. However, they also knew that even if they wanted to go, not everyone could go. Since Master said these words, he must already have a candidate in mind. At this moment, they couldn't help but envy the 8 people who were chosen by Master. However, there were so many of them, yet Master only planned to bring 8 people. It could be imagined how many of them would be chosen. Feng Jiu looked at them, his clear and unhurried voice sounding out. These 8 people are Luo Yu, Fan Lin, Guimo, Wei Feng, Leng Shuang, Leng Hua, Du Fan, and Bai Qingqing. When they heard the first 7 people, they were not surprised. However, when they heard Bai Qingqing's name, they could not help but look at their master in astonishment. One of them asked with hesitation and confusion, Master, the first 7 people have been following you for a long time. We don't have any objections if you bring them along. However, why do you want to bring Bai Qingqing along? Bai Qingqing was the most inconspicuous among them. She was also the most ordinary. Aside from her outstanding appearance, there was nothing else about her that was memorable, especially since she had once had designs on Master. However, why would Master want to bring her along? Today, Bai Qingqing was not here. Instead, she was in the Feng Manor. Everyone was even more confused. Hearing this, Feng Jiu only smiled slightly. Although she has been by my side for the shortest time, and her strength is the most inconspicuous among you, she has her own uniqueness. This time, I'm only giving her an opportunity. Chapter 2796. Hearing her words, everyone fell silent. They also knew that it would not be easy for their master to go there. Naturally, it was impossible for her to bring all of them. Even the 8 captains of the Phoenix Guards only brought 4 people. It was obvious that the rest of them did not stand a chance. I will tell Lung Hua and Du Fan about the other matters later. You can all leave. The 8 of you stay. Feng Jiu looked at the 8 captains of the Phoenix Guards and said. Seeing this, the 8 of them stayed. After the others left, Feng Jiu looked at the 4 people she had left behind and said, Among the 8 of you, I have chosen Luo Yu and the other 3 to come with me. The 4 of you will stay here. The task on your shoulders is not easy. She paused and said, The few of you are more mature and you are familiar with everything about the Phoenix Guards. Therefore, I can't bring all of you with me. If I bring all of you with me, I will not be at ease here. Do you understand? The 8 of them had followed her all the way here. Now, she had only chosen 4 of them to follow her to Penglai Island. She was worried that they would think that she did not choose them because she did not think they were good enough. Therefore, she could only tell them frankly, Master, we understand. Even if you leave, there must be someone to look after this place. Whether it is the Phoenix Guards or the forces of the Tianyuan Palace. Only they know best and know how to operate. Master, don't worry. The 4 of us will shoulder the original responsibilities of Luo Yu and the other 3. We will take care of this place so that Master will not have any worries. Hearing this, Feng Jiu smiled and said, Very good. She nodded and took out a map that she had drawn for them. She said, This is the route that I drew to the Penglai Immortal Island, as well as the things that you need to pay attention to along the way. This is the route that I have taken. Pay extra attention to the places that I have marked. There are also some connections that I am familiar with in the Penglai Immortal Island. She looked at them and said, I don't know when I will be back. Therefore, keep these things. In the future, you could try to climb the stairway of immortality. I have also explained the things to pay attention to on the stairway of immortality. Take it and read it carefully. Thank you, Master. The 4 of them replied and took the things. Feng Jiu looked at the other 4 and said, Luo Yu and the others quickly finished the task with the 4 of them. After these 2 days, we have to make a trip back. Yes, the 4 of them replied. Only then did they bow and leave with the rest of the group. After they left, Xianyuan Mose, who was sitting at the side, It's enough. It's not appropriate to bring too many people over. She waved her hand to remove the soundproof barrier and walked to the table to sit down. To be honest, whether it's the 8 Phoenix Guard captains or the others, they've all been with me for a long time. It's really something that I've thought about over and over again. Chapter 2797. What about your brother and the others? Aren't you going to bring them along? Xianyuan Mose asked. If she didn't bring them along, with Guan Shilin's strength, he probably wouldn't be able to climb the immortal ascension stairs and enter the profound light sect within 5 years. Feng Jiu sighed softly. I've thought about it before, but I think it's better to let him increase his strength first. I hope that he can climb the immortal ascension stairs on his own. If he can climb it with his own strength, I think he'll have a better chance of surviving there. As for Mo Chun, I think that if he knows about our plans, he'll probably go with us. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose said without thinking, He's Qianji Elder's disciple, so it's better for him to stay here. Furthermore, he has an otherworldly aura, so what can he do even if he goes over there? I haven't told him about this yet, so it's up to him whether he goes or not. As soon as she finished speaking, she stood up. Let's go home. Let's go back and play with Hao. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose's lips curled up slightly. Okay. He stood up and held her hand as they walked out. Outside, the carriage was already prepared. Just as Feng Jiu was about to get on the carriage, a group of more than 20 people suddenly appeared in the sky. They were flying on swords, holding bows and arrows in their hands, and there was a burning flame at the tip of the arrows. As these people approached Fengjiu and the heavenly pill building, their spiritual energy surged. At the same time, one group of the 20 people went in the other direction, while the other group went in the other direction. When they released the arrows in their hands, several arrows flew out with a whoosh. Just as they were about to shoot into the heavenly pill building, a protective shield formed by spiritual energy instantly appeared in the heavenly pill building. The flaming arrows were bounced away by the protective shield formed by spiritual energy, blocking them outside the building. At the same time, the cultivators in the building rushed out, surrounding the heavenly pill building to protect them. Fengjiu finally felt at ease when she witnessed this scene. She gazed at the group that had arrived on their swords, and she noticed that a group of people had split off from the group and headed towards another direction. She couldn't help but feel slightly worried when she saw this. Those people seemed to be heading towards the manor. Power is still at home. I have to go back and take a look. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose looked at those people and said to her, I'll go back with you. But this place... She looked at the heavenly pill building with some hesitation. Don't worry, they can protect him, Xianyuan Mose said in a deep voice. If you can't protect them, how can you be at ease and let them protect the heavenly Dan building? Let them try. Hearing this, Fengjiu nodded. He turned around and instructed Lung Hua and the others. Eliminate the enemy. Protect the heavenly Dan building well. Yes, everyone responded. She and the Yama Lord stood up together and quickly headed in the direction of the Feng Manor. After seeing them leave, the hidden guards in the heavenly Dan building and the powerhouses in the building turned from defense to offense. They surrounded the dozen or so people in the air and launched a series of attacks. In a corner of the street, Hui Lang, who heard that something had happened in the heavenly Dan building, was squatting at the corner of the street. When he heard the people on the street rushing to inform him, he immediately leaped up and had the hidden guards release his sealed spiritual energy. He then quickly rushed to the heavenly Dan building. The two of them arrived at the heavenly Dan building together. After seeing the situation, they quickly joined the battle. Chapter 2798. Compared to the black-clothed people on the heavenly pill building side, aside from the black-clothed people on their swords, there was another group waiting here. The two groups of black-clothed people added up to around 30 people, and they were currently attacking the people inside the Feng Manor. Among them, there were several people at the peak of the Celestial Sage Realm, and there were even two at the Celestial Venerable Realm. The hidden guards and guards in the manor were not their opponents, and could only defend to the death. A few of them were protecting Lang Shuang, who was carrying a child. Their bodies were covered in blood, but they did not retreat a single step. Bai Qingsheng was also among them. Her white clothes were stained with blood, and it was very eye-catching. Her face was covered in frost, and the spiritual energy on her body surged. With a wave of her sleeve, several contracted beasts rushed out, heading downwards. Roar! Roar! Master! It's Master! When the people guarding saw her return, it was as if their pillar of support had returned. They could not help but relax, and their fighting spirit became even stronger as they shouted, Kill! The sound of swords clashing could be heard clearly. Even if they knew that their strength was not their opponents, they still fought with all their strength. At this time, Xianyuan Mose had already killed a few celestial sage cultivators. The strength of celestial gods was very strong. They could have used their pressure to make the people below fall to the ground, but that would also hurt their people. Thus, Xianyuan Mose could only kill them one by one. The hidden guards of the Feng Manor were not the opponents of the Celestial Venerables, and those people were naturally not the opponents of Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose. Moreover, with the help of a few divine beasts below, the situation gradually reversed. However, one of the Celestial Venerable cultivators who was fighting with Fengjiu stared at Fengjiu and shouted, Fengjiu, obediently hand over the ancient green lotus. Otherwise, more people will die because of you. Is that so? Then before that, I will first kill all of you. She used her hand as a sword, and her chi as a blade. Her spiritual energy turned into a sharp blade between her fingers. Streams of qi attacked the cultivator at an extremely fast speed, causing wounds to appear on the body of the celestial venerable cultivator. The celestial venerable retreated step by step while trying to avoid her attack. However, because his dodging speed was not fast enough, he fell from the sky and fell to the ground. Seeing Fengjiu chasing after him, he tried to escape. "You can't escape." Fengjiu's eyes narrowed, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. The celestial venerable cultivator who was trying to escape on the ground. To the celestial venerable cultivator who was trying to escape on the ground and leap to the sky. "Try to run." She was in the air. She reached celestial venerable cultivator and reached celestial venerable cultivator. She reached out her hand, reached, and reached. She reached and reached cultivator's venerable cultivator, and reached. She reached and reached. She cultivators her, she reached him, and she cultivator. She cultivator and cultivator she was. Of course. Cultivator, ceiling, and cultivator venerable. Ceiling she realm as cultivators. B she reach she. Fengjiu. The sound of bones breaking was drowned out by the powerful pressure. The cultivator in her hand lost his life force, but just as she was about to loosen her grip, a black aura wrapped around her wrist and pulled her up abruptly. Ajio. Xianyuan Mose saw that the situation was not right and was shocked. He quickly gathered his qi from Long Shuang, who was holding the child, and quickly rushed to Fengjiu's location. Chapter 2799. When the Yama Lord became angry, it was truly like hell on earth. Even the cultivators who had crawled out of piles of corpses could not help but shiver at the scene before them. Not far away, the white-clothed Mo Chun stood under a tree. His gaze returned from the sky and landed on the bloody street. His gaze only flashed for a moment. He never thought that Fengjiu would be taken to some unknown place after returning. The transportation formation that appeared in the sky could not be opened by a normal person. Also, the black aura that bound Fengjiu. It seemed that he had been taken away by the person with the black lotus of annihilation. At this moment, he could not help but be a bit worried. Would she be able to escape from the clutches of those people? After the black-clothed people were killed and Fengjiu was sucked away by the black hole, the people of the Feng Manor stopped outside for a moment and had some people clean up the corpses outside. They also had some injured people enter the manor to have their wounds bandaged. Xianyuan Mose walked into the Feng Manor with a cold expression on his face. Behind him, the silver wolf whimpered and looked at the sky, feeling wronged. In the end, it turned around and walked into the manor. If its master had contracted it, it would have been able to enter the contracted beast space. Now, Tun Yun and Old White had entered the space and were at its master's side. Only it remained here. Inside the Feng Manor, Xianyuan Mose sat in the main hall. Because Fengjiu had been sucked away by the transportation formation, his mood was gloomy. This caused everyone in the manor to feel oppressed. The atmosphere in the manor was so heavy that it made it hard for people to breathe. "Yama Lord, young Master Mo Chun has come," the guard outside said, and a white figure slowly walked in from outside. At this moment, Xianyuan Mose was still blaming himself. That feeling of helplessness was so uncomfortable, especially when he could only watch helplessly as Fengjiu was sucked into the transportation array and disappeared before his eyes. He didn't dare to imagine what would happen to him if something happened to her. A transportation black hole that appeared out of nowhere, and there was also the black lotus of annihilation. Even if you had pulled her back at the time, you would have definitely been sucked in. He looked at Xianyuan Mose's slightly red eyes and said, "That suction force isn't here. It's on the other side of the black hole. That's why it can't be stopped." Xianyuan Mose nodded and said, "That suction force isn't here. It's on the other side of the black hole. Just because she is the star of the phoenix, she has experienced so much more hardship than others." Xianyuan Mose's voice was low and hoarse. Mo Chun slowly walked into the hall and sat down. She said warmly, in this world who hasn't experienced hardship? Some people are constantly facing small difficulties, but they are not fatal. Others, on the other hand, are facing a great disaster and have no way to survive. Although Feng Jiu has experienced a lot of hardships, every time she went through a trial, even if it was a narrow escape from death, she would still improve. She was originally extraordinary. The path she walked would naturally be different from others. His voice was gentle, as if he was not worried or nervous. He looked at Xianyuan Mose and asked, "What do you plan to do next?" When he had arrived, he had heard what she had said to Xianyuan Mose. However, he did not know what she meant. Chapter 2800. Hearing this, Imochen looked at him and said, "She asked you to carry on with your business. I'm going to find her and bring her back." Xianyuan Mose said, a dim light flashing through his eyes. He knew that she wanted him to carry out their previous agreement, but he was not at ease, especially since it was overseas. He was even more worried about leaving her alone in such a strange place. Hearing this, Imochen paused for a moment and asked, "When are you leaving?" "I'll go with you." Xianyuan Mose glanced at him and said calmly, "No need." Imochen smiled warmly and said, "If you want to go, I think it's necessary, unless you don't want to go." "Master, master." Huilang's voice came from outside. Not long after, Huilang, who was dressed as a beggar, ran in and said, "Master, I heard that the ghost doctor, young Master Imochen, you're here too?" Seeing Imochen, Huilang was stunned. "Huilang, what mistake did you make this time? Why are you dressed as a beggar?" Imochen looked at him and smiled. I'm training outside." Huilang scratched his head and said embarrassedly. Seeing his master's tense face, he quickly straightened his back and said, "Master, there are no casualties in the Heavenly Pill building. Lung Hua and Du Fan have returned and went to check on the casualties in the manor. You may leave," Xianyuan Mose said and waved his hand, indicating for him to leave. "Yes," Grey Wolf responded and planned to go down and change his clothes before coming back. He bowed and retreated. Xianyuan Mose was silent for a moment and asked in a low voice, "Feng Jiu has fallen into the hands of those people. What's the worst that could happen?" His body tensed up. Even though he didn't want to think about the worst, he couldn't help but hear a glimmer of hope from Imochen's words. After Imo-chan heard this, he did not say anything for a while. After a while, he said, "Actually, I don't agree with you going to find her. You should know that Feng Jiu has an Aurora teleportation scroll. She can escape from those people as long as she finds an opportunity. If we go, it will be unnecessary." He looked deeply at Xianyuan Mose, who was frowning, and said, "Moreover, you should believe in her. With her ability and wisdom, I feel that even if she is in danger, she will definitely be able to turn the situation around." Hearing his words, Xianyuan Mose took a deep breath and leaned back in his seat. He gradually calmed down and knew that Feng Jiu meant the same thing. However, he was still a little worried about letting her face such a situation alone. The servant girl came in and served them tea. Then, she lowered her head and quietly left. "You guys are going to Peng Lai, Immortal Island, to climb the immortal stairs. I had to find time to go back and tell my master," Imo-chan said as she took a sip of tea. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose's eyelids twitched. He glanced at him and said, "I didn't ask you to go with us." "Yes, you didn't ask me to go with you, but I have to go," Imo-chan said unhurriedly. He used the lid to gently scrape the tea leaves on the teacup and said, "My master has long ordered me to follow Feng Jiu. However, I am ashamed to say that I have not been able to complete this task well. I have let my master down." Chapter 2801. Imo-chan smiled and took a sip of tea before saying, "It's all right. You do what you need to do. I still have to go to Long Shuang's place to see the child." Seeing this, Xianyuan Mose also stood up and walked out without saying anything else. Imogen sat in the hall for a while and drank a cup of tea. Only then did she walk out, intending to see that child at this time. They did not know that after Fengjiu was sucked into the teleportation formation, a flame ignited on her hand and forced the dark qi that was coiling around her hand to retreat. However, at this time, her body had already fallen out of the black hole. Just as she was about to fall into the formation that was surging with powerful spiritual energy, she looked down and saw many powerful cultivators wearing black cloaks waiting for her below. Among them, there was also a person wearing a black lotus mask who was sitting on a chair. The moment she fell, the black-clothed man who was sucked into the black hole with her reached out to grab her and pull her down. Seeing this, she moved her palm, and the Qing Feng sword instantly appeared in her hand. Sword shadow green light. She shouted, and the Qing Feng sword in her hand shot out a green and dazzling light. She attacked the black-clothed man with a murderous aura. It was so fast that it could be said to be the speed of light. The black-clothed man, who was quite powerful, could not dodge in time and was hit by the sword. Whoosh! Hiss! The sharp and terrifying sword qi broke through the shield that the black-clothed man had quickly condensed to block the attack. With a loud bang, the mask on the black-clothed man's face was split open by the Qing Feng sword, revealing his true face under the mask. It was the face of a man in his 30s. There was a sinister look on his face. His slender eyes were wide open in shock, as if he could not believe the scene in front of him. When he was hit, he froze. He could not dodge or escape. Even though he was an immortal venerable, he could not withstand the attack of a heavenly god expert and the ancient divine weapon in his hand. A trace of blood seeped out from his forehead and slowly slid down. Subsequently, his entire body split into two and fell to the ground with a bang, and it shocked all the black-clothed men who were about to capture Fengjiu. Master of the Black Lotus, this is a greeting gift from me, Fengjiu. We'll meet again. While the crowd below was still in shock, they suddenly heard Fengjiu's cold and arrogant voice. Just as they were wondering what she meant by this, they saw her swinging the green-edged longsword in her hand around as she descended. Streaks of sword energy shot out, forming a sword shield. Immediately after, a wave of flames shot out with a whoosh. For a moment, no one could see her figure. It was also at this moment that the crowd below clearly sensed the faint aura of a formation within the barrier formed by the flames and sword qi. However, the aura of the formation only flashed for a moment. If one didn't pay close attention, it would be impossible to detect it. However, the black-clothed cultivators soon realized that something was wrong because they could not see Fengjiu's figure. The ball of flame and sword energy seemed to have stopped in midair and gradually dissipated. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Chapter 28:02. However, before he could reach the sky, he saw the flames and sword shield gradually disappear in the air. However, Fengjiu, who was so big, disappeared as well. The black-robed cultivator widened his eyes in shock. He went forward to check, but there was nothing. He couldn't help but turn back to look at his master. The black-robed man with the black lotus mask who was sitting there narrowed his eyes dangerously when he saw this scene. He stood up in disbelief and clenched his fists tightly under his sleeves. How could he let her escape after coming here? Pass down the order. Search for her, he said in a gloomy voice that was filled with anger. The aura around him became extremely terrifying, causing the surrounding black-robed cultivators to move. They spread the order and searched everywhere for Fengjiu's figure. Master, this Fengjiu is said to have many treasures on her. I'm afraid she used some kind of teleportation formation to escape. A black-robed man said as he looked at his master, who was emitting a cold aura. Fengjiu's strength and methods were far beyond their expectations to be able to escape from so many of them and even kill that immortal venerable expert. They had never seen her before. They had only heard that Fengjiu's reputation was extremely resounding. They didn't believe it at first, but seeing it with their own eyes today was indeed better than hearing it 100 times. That strike of the sword was not only a visual impact, it was even more shocking to their hearts. It caused a wave of shock to arise in their hearts, and they were unable to calm down for a long time. It was likely that for a very long time in the future, as long as they faced the ghost Dr. Fengjiu, the scene from before would be recalled by them once again. I don't believe that she can escape from me now that she's here, the black-robed man with the black lotus mask said in a gloomy voice. This time, I must get the ancient green lotus in her body. Yes, I'll immediately lead people to search the surroundings. The black-robed cultivator said, bowed, and quickly retreated. The black-robed cultivators who were originally surrounding the area were divided into 12 groups and searched in all directions. Not long after, only the black-robed man with the black lotus mask and 3 other black-robed cultivators were left standing in the originally crowded area. Bury him. His gaze fell on the black-robed cultivator who had been cleaved in half. Yes, one of them replied and called 2 other black-robed cultivators forward to deal with the black-robed cultivator's corpse. The black-robed man with the black lotus mask stood there for a while, staring at the sky. No one knew what he was thinking. After a pause, he turned and left. At this moment, Fengjiu was hiding in the space. She used the formation, flames, and sword shield to conceal herself so that she could escape and hide in the space without being discovered. Under such circumstances, it would be difficult for her to escape if she fell into the space below. Moreover, 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. Even if she had the strength of a heavenly god, the black-robed cultivators below were not weak either. Even if they weren't as strong as her, they would undoubtedly be defeated after a long battle. Chapter 28:03. Thus, while the people outside were looking for her, she stayed in the space and cultivated. A few days later, she sent out a strand of divine sense and found that there was no one in the area. There were only 1 or 2 groups of black-robed people patrolling the area. She stood up and took off her red robes and tied up her feminine features. She changed into the same black robes as the people outside and hung a waist token on her body. She took out a mask and put it on. Then, she concealed her aura and flashed out of the space. She appeared in the place where the matrix was located. Then, her figure flashed, and she quickly jumped onto a big tree. She carefully observed the surrounding movements. Not long after, a group of black-robed people walked over and walked under the tree. After another instant's time, another group of black-robed people came and walked under the tree. After looking for a while, she thought to herself, this place seemed to be in the middle of a mountain forest, and the surrounding trees were lush. Other than this person, there didn't seem to be anyone else around. Based on the topography of this place, it should be one of their bases. She could try to investigate from here. After making up her mind, she jumped down from the tree and flashed to another place. She saw a black-robed person jogging into the forest to relieve himself. Thus, she quietly followed from behind. Is there still no news of the ghost Dr. Fengjiu? Such a big person. Even if she used the transportation array, she shouldn't be able to escape far. Send more people to search for her. You must find her. Yes, the black-robed cultivator replied, and led his men to search in all directions. Just as Fengjiu was about to head to the other side, the black-robed cultivator's gaze fell on her. You over there, come here. The black-robed cultivator shouted and waved at Fengjiu. Before Fengjiu came close, he asked, what are you doing over there alone? Fengjiu quickly walked over and lowered her head respectfully. I just went to relieve myself. Her voice was suppressed, as if she was a different person. No one who heard her voice would think that she was a woman. The black-robed cultivator stared at the black-robed cultivator and said, your waist token. Hearing this, Fengjiu immediately took off the token on his waist and handed it over. Just now, he had killed the cultivator and even exchanged for his waist token. The black-robed cultivator glanced at the waist tag and threw it back to him. Go back to your team. Yes, Fengjiu replied, and quickly walked towards a group of black-clothed men. The black-robed cultivator shifted his gaze and shouted at the other teams, hurry up, expand the search area. The one over there, what are you waiting for? Fengjiu followed the team and left. This team was in charge of guarding. When it was time, they would change shifts. She was sent to a place to guard. She looked at the place and saw that it seemed to be a cave. It should be the place where the Black Lotus Lord lived. The figure stood straight outside, just like the other black-robed cultivators. As time passed, the man wearing the Black Lotus mask walked out with his hands clasped behind his back. Looking at the black-clothed cultivator walking outside, he asked in a deep voice, "How is it?" Chapter 28:04. It was as if she had disappeared from the world. She was nowhere to be found. Upon hearing the black-robed cultivator's words, the Black Lotus Lord released his aura. His voice was gloomy and sinister. "I want something. I've never failed to get it." Sensing the powerful aura from the Black Lotus Lord, the black-robed man thought for a moment and said, "Master, there's news from the Penglai Immortal Island. They seem to have seen Fengjiu appear there." It seems, upon hearing this, the Black Lotus Lord, who was standing with his hands behind his back, sneered. If she hadn't appeared here, it would have been believable. Now that she has been sucked into the teleportation array, do you think the person who appeared there would still be her? The black-robed cultivator lowered his head and didn't dare to speak again. He also found it strange. Fengjiu was originally in Hundred River City. Then, she was sucked into the teleportation array in the sky. Why would she appear on the Penglai Immortal Island? After thinking for a moment, he said, "But, Master, our men followed her all the way to Penglai. Could it be that the Fengjiu we caught through the teleportation array was just her clone?" Upon hearing this, the Black Lotus Lord paused for a moment. "Clone? Even I can't condense such a real clone. I'm sure that the Fengjiu we caught was definitely not her clone." He walked with his hands behind his back and said, "The person who went to Penglai was also her. However, according to them, Fengjiu suddenly returned. She must have something on her that could teleport her quickly." His gaze landed on the sky and narrowed slightly, just like how she disappeared in front of so many of us. As he spoke, he walked into the cave abode. As he entered the cave residence, Fengjiu, who was standing straight outside, twitched the corners of her lips under her mask. It wasn't until the first half of the night when another team came to take over their shift that their team could rest. The night was dark, and there was a faint flickering light. Feng 9, who was sitting with those men in black, was listening to their conversation and collecting useful information. After a few more days, there was still no sign of Fengjiu. On this day, the Black Lotus Master left after receiving a message. It was also on this day that Fengjiu began his operation. "We found a few corpses in the forest to the east," a black-robed cultivator reported. Hearing this, two teams brought people over to check. But who would have thought that, even after a long time, there was no movement at all? The people waiting here sensed that something was wrong and brought people to the eastern forest. Among them, the black-robed cultivator leading the group didn't go forward. Instead, he waved his hand and said, "You guys go up and take a look." The two cultivators stepped forward and walked a few meters, but nothing happened. They then turned around and said, "Nothing." Before he could finish a sentence, Tunyon suddenly lunged over and snapped his neck. A blade of wind flashed past the other person's body. Soon after, blood seeped out of that person's neck. He fell to the ground, dead on the spot. Oh no! Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but take a few steps back. They stared at the two godly beasts that suddenly appeared. No, these two were not godly beasts. Instead, one of them was a super godly beast, and the other seemed to be a mutated beast. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.